You know why they call us champions, ladies and gentlemen? Because we show up, we play hurt, but we play hard. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo back with you for the first Monday in a month. But you know what? I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back. We have plenty to talk about. We are at no shortage of topics, but before we get there, ladies and gentlemen, a note of appreciation, a note of fandom, a note of respect earned today by the great one as Lonzo has showed up hurt. He is taped up. He's got the rib guard on. The cowboy collar is doing its overtime duty today. How you feeling, buddy?
I am well. I'm using that Cosenzo tape or whatever you call that stuff that's got medicine in it.
The what is it? Kinetic tape or
something? It's good. I'm gonna go with Cosenzo.
Cosenzo tape
sounds Italian.
You wanna tell the people what happened?
Yeah.
Or are we leaving it a secret?
Whoa!
Man down, medic.
We're good. At least you didn't take the monitor out. So
right. Everybody on the stream's getting nauseous right now.
It's all right, yeah, including me, man. Motion detector so well. Rob hit the glass hard there, but he's fixing it. It's the monitor stuck on it up there, by the way. So speaking of things falling, there we go. That should help.
Speaking of things falling.
So went to take the trash out the other day, right before the end of the new year, because a good husband does said things, yes. And we are surrounded by 30 to 40-foot trees. Apparently, they excrete some sort of moss that will, I don't know from whence it comes from the trees, but it does. And it coats the stairs sometimes, and it's invisible. The only way you notice it is when you step on it and go airborne, as I did. And, and when you go airborne, when you've got like 15 or 20 steps leading down to the ground, you have some time to think and think of, am I going to die now? This is how I'm going to go, taking out the trash sort of thing. But mostly I thought, okay, if I turn my body this way, it should lessen the impact, keep my head up like taking a wrestling bump to make sure that I don't give myself a concussion. So one foot went flying, the other one went flying too. My hand was still back. My right arm was still back on the trash bag, which was on the top step. So it kind of stretched things out that way, but it also helped me, I want to say be erect.
Clicks of 1,000 keyboards firing off tweets that Lonzo doesn't want right now.
Yes. So anyway, I'm parallel to the steps. My right foot kicks through one of the railings, and all I can think of is I need to get my leg back and turn so my leg doesn't get caught and snap, which I was able to do. Still caught my hip a little bit, caught my ankle pretty big, caught my foot, but then was able to turn around and get my butt to hit the steps just perfect to where the padding, although it did hurt. So then I skipped over a few steps and finally was able to come to a halt.
Short story, Lonzo Charlie Browned himself off the top of a staircase and showed up for work today, ladies and gentlemen.
I would go Chris Farley-esque, although I didn't. But yeah,
But he made it work. He's in. We in here, as the kids say. It's time to talk some football and baseball and basketball, soccer, hockey, Olympics, bobsledding, curling, whatever. But sports,
Wrestling.
Lonzo's playing hurt. He's got the kinetic tape up and down. He's got the cowboy collar.
It's Kinesio tape.
And we're good to go. Busy day on the broadcast today. A lot of stuff we're going to get into later on in the show. One of the hottest topics in college football the last couple of years, we saw a thing happen in the Sugar Bowl. We're going to get into that just in a little while because I wonder if some of y'all, now that you've seen it happen, again, might change your tune just a little bit. We're going to talk about that coming up shortly. Obviously, the Antonio Brown situation from yesterday, it's not funny. It's not funny. I mean, there were jokes about it, but it's not funny. And I want to talk about that coming up here in just a couple of minutes as well, and plenty more. In fact, you know what? It's never too early to start the show.
Let's do lunch.
3, 2, 1,
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys here?
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Lunch!
The lunch breakdown of 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. When you gather around the lunch table today, this will be what you are talking about. This will be the scuttlebutt. We start with item number 1, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in depth later on in the show. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it here, but obviously one of the weirdest situations we've seen play out in football in a very long time. It was a handful of years ago that we saw Vontae Davis retire from the Miami Dolphins at halftime of a game, but he just kind of walked off. Antonio Brown yesterday, after being told twice by Bruce Arians to get back into the game, onto the field, Antonio Brown instead removed his shoulder pads, removed his playing shirt, removed his gloves, threw them into the crowd. This was an away game, by the way, at a point where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were trailing the New York Jets 24-10. No worries, they'd come back to win the game. Antonio Brown decided he did not want to enter the game and did want to exit the field. Took his pads, took his shirt, took his gloves off, threw the pads and the jersey onto the bench, threw his shirt and gloves up into the crowd, walked through the Jets end zone while the game was live, by the way, pumped up the Jets fans, gave a peace sign, ran off the field, collected his gear, went outside, asked a New Jersey Highway Patrol member for a ride to the airport, was told no, called an Uber, hopped into the Uber, did an Instagram live with the Uber driver on his IG account, made his way to the airport, and flew back to Tampa without the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right after the game was over, Bruce Arians goes into the press conference. He says at this point, Antonio Brown is no longer a Buck. Let's talk about the guys that went out there and won the football game. It's not funny anymore, okay? There have been some times when AB has done some stuff in his career that you went, well, that's not great, but at least we got a laugh out of it. It's not funny anymore. Now, what's different about this story, and the reason that I've decided to include it on the LBD here, that's the initials of the lunch breakdown. See, I'm trying to be clever here. The reason
2022,
we're making moves out here. We're just making changes, making moves. The reason that it is on is now there are new reports coming out about this story, Lonzo, and I wonder if it's going to change my, and the listeners' perspective on the Antonio Brown story. The reports coming out now is that Antonio Brown had injured his ankle in the game. It wasn't a significant injury, but he was not comfortable on the injury. Bruce Arians said, get in the game. Antonio Brown said, Coach, my ankle's dinged up. And this is, again, coming from AB's camp, so take it with a full shaker of salt. But he said, Coach, my ankle's jacked. I can't get back out there. Bruce said, get in the game. We have a football game to win. Antonio Brown told him a second time, my ankle is dinged up. I can't get into the game. And then Bruce Arians said, well, then get out. And that's why AB left the game. That's why AB took off. It's still... We have seen guys leave the field before without putting on the production that Antonio Brown put on. He could have just left, but he had to go through the drama of taking off the shoulder pads and the undershirt and the gloves and the helmet and yada, yada, yada. But if AB truly did have a busted up ankle and was told twice to get over it and get into the game and refused to do so because of an injury, does that change the way that you look at this meltdown in New Jersey yesterday?
I think you can look at it as insubordination, because the boss told you to go do your job, and you said, nah, I'm just not feeling it, boss. And so instead, what you decided is what a lot of people decide. Am I going to stay here and do what the boss tells me to do, or am I just going to quit? And he quit. And I will tell you, I don't know about you, but he's pumping up the crowd and moving laterally. Ankle didn't seem to be a problem there, did it?
No, he was hopping up and down in the end zone. He was jumping up and down as he exited the field. Again, here's what I'll say about it, then we'll move on to item number 2. Antonio Brown needs help, clearly needs help, and not on the football field, but off it. But Antonio Brown is also a classic narcissist, all right? I'm not a psychologist, nor did I stay in Holiday Inn Express last night, but I've seen actual psychologists say that Antonio Brown displays all the classic signs of a narcissist. And a lot of narcissists not only don't want to acknowledge that they have an issue, but certainly don't want help for it. Antonio Brown's got to be good, got to be done with football. The comedy to me comes from the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went ahead and made this move and went through it anyway, right? They decided that despite everybody going, not a great plan, not a great idea, don't put this cat on the roster, it's going to blow up in your face. They did it anyway. And it was a week ago that Bruce Arians in a news conference defended AB. Oh, there's been a lot of history that's gone by. He's fixed. He's better. We know he's a good teammate. Get off AB's back. He falls on the sword for Antonio Brown. A week later, AB retrieves that sword that Bruce Arians fell on and stabs him with it again.
But did he fall on the sword for him? No. Tom Brady was holding that sword. Tom Brady is the one who wanted Antonio Brown there. And Tom Brady behind the scenes is like, hey, give him some more time. He'll be okay. I mean, Tom is the one who vouched for him the entire time. So this is more. Right? He stood up for him, and because he wanted him so bad, that's why they took the chance they took.
Yeah. You're not entirely wrong, but at the end of the day, it still is on Bruce Arians and the rest of the staff to determine. Again, if you don't sign him, you risk drawing the ire of Tom Brady, but still on you to make the decision whether the contract gets there or not. We're going to talk more about that later on in the show. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown, a wild weekend in NFL football. We still got one more game to go this evening, but as it stands right now, our playoff picture is as such. Yesterday, by way of drumming the Miami Dolphins, the Tennessee Titans now control their own destiny and have the ability to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Routed the Dolphins yesterday, while the second place Colts also lost to the Raiders. They got the bonus of jumping back up to the top seed and home field advantage. And they have a tiebreaker over the Chiefs because of a Week 7 home win over Kansas City, which means that the only thing standing between the 11-5 Titans and a first-round bye and home field advantage in the AFC playoffs, Lonzo, is the Houston Texans next weekend. The Chiefs would need a win at Denver and Houston to beat the Tennessee Titans. I'm not saying it can happen. The Texans. The Texans are still fighting, but looking right now like Tennessee's your number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
Yeah, Kansas City had everything to gain by getting the victory yesterday, and it was a good game, but they kind of collapsed in the second half. And they needed to score more points, and they didn't. And the defense, although played fairly well, could not stop a Cincinnati team that really, really wanted to win. And when it comes down to next week, I think Tennessee keeps the number 1 seed. Although Vrabel is a weird coach sometimes.
He's coach of the year candidate, though.
But I'm not saying from Ohio State Buckeye. Of course, I'm going to cheer for him. But at the same time, he's weird. He does some things different that other coaches don't do. So would it shock you if he decided to set his starters next week? I mean, he shouldn't.
No.
He should.
Starters is when they get up about 40 points on Houston. That's when I'll set them.
Houston's going to play hard. I'm just saying it's not a gimme. Houston has not laid down all year, and they're not going to lay down this week. But more than likely, Tennessee did what they needed to do, and they're going to get the number 1 seed.
Number 2 right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are the 2 seed at this spot. They need help and a dub over Denver. The Cincinnati Bengals winning the AFC North, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Cincinnati. Joey B. By the way, if anybody but Jamar Chase is the offensive rookie of the year, the vote's rigged, right? That is 2 200-plus yard games as a rook for Joey B., Jamar Chase, and the Cincinnati LSU Bengals.
Now, let me just agree with the announce crew and other people. Why do you not double that guy?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Come on.
What are you doing?
Come on, Kansas City. Double him, okay?
252 And you're late in the game, you're still running one-on-ones on the outside. What are you doing? Unbelievable. Speaking of teams that were doing dumb things and wouldn't stop even when they're getting beat, yes, Cincinnati Bearcats, I'm coming for you later. First time I've been on air since those games, and I got comments. Number 3 in the AFC is the Bengals. The Buffalo Bills win the AFC East. They are the 4th seed right now. Still in the hunt right now today if the season ended. The New England Patriots at 10-6 the 5. The Indy Colts at 9-7 to the 6. And the Chargers are in 7th and the final spot if the season ended today. But the Raiders are right there. And guess who plays next week? San Diego at Las Vegas. Las Vegas could take that spot away from them. Also alive are the Ravens and the Steelers. There are some tiebreaker scenarios that could go in there. Miami, Cleveland, Denver, New York, Houston, and Jacksonville, obviously all eliminated. Over in the NFC, if the season ended today, either way, looks like Green Bay is going to go in as the number 1 seed with home field advantage. That is clinched. The Lone Buy and Lambeau will host every game the Packers play. The LA Rams, first place in the NFC West, clinched their playoff spot, but the wild card is still a possibility for Los Angeles as it is for San Francisco. 3rd spot right now goes to Tampa Bay, the NFC South champions. They beat the Jets in a 14-point come-from-behind victory on the road against the Jets. They would have a shot to move up to number 2 if they beat the Panthers, and if the Rams lose to the Cardinals, then Tampa could jump up to number 2. But right now that spot is LA. Dallas is in the 4th spot right now as champs of the NFC East. Number 5, Arizona. Number 6, San Francisco at 9-7. How about an 11-5 wild card team in Arizona? And number 7, Philly. We are not done yet. The New Orleans Saints are still alive. By beating the Panthers, the pressure is still on the 49ers for the Saints to get in. They would have to beat the Falcons next Sunday and have the 49ers lose to the Rams. Both of those are very possible outcomes, so the Saints may still slide into that 7th playoff spot right now.
And real quick, if you wonder if Rob believes that's going to happen, check out the stream right now and see what he's wearing.
Oh, I just wrote this today because we beat the Panthers. And I heard all week. I heard the 2 days I worked last week. Oh, yeah, we're bad, Rob, but we can still beat the Saints.
Well, wasn't even 2 full days, if I recall.
Nope. It was shut up, Lonzo. Don't help me. This is the only team that I allow my fandom for to show on the air. You don't know my other teams. You know this one. Got him. All right. Item number 3 on the lunch breakdown. I'm going to push till the next segment. What is it? It's the Palmetto football weekend wrap-up. We're going to talk South Carolina's South Carolina. Good gosh almighty. Gamecocks brought the fire against the Tar Heels in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Clemson looked real good over Iowa State, too. Took them a little while to get going, but once they did, it was their game. And, of course, Carolina falling to New Orleans. That is, 7 in a row now? 8 in a row? I've lost track. There's too many. I can't count that high. We'll talk South Carolina football when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate, y'all.
The Rob Brown Show.
Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker.
Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
All right, Steve says, last year you guys were the baddest boat-talking, groin-losing, Duke Mayo-spreading, boy band listening, and most importantly, trophy award-winning son of a guns in all of Palmetto State. Looking forward to this year's content. Thanks, Steven. We're going to do better and better and bigger and badder and better this year.
We need some sort of,
like a Ric Flair speech made out of that?
Well, no. We need some, all the wrestlers now got their own.
Oh, and a hand signal?
Yeah, we need something. I don't know. We'll have to work on that. It's kind of hard to make an R. So,
hello, Miss Lisa. Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for taking care of my producer for the past few days.
By a 29-15 score.
Trey says Atlanta was hyped for day one. I hope the crowd is rowdy for Raw tonight. So do I. I'll be there. Zoe will be there. The friends and fam will be there. We'll do what we can from section 113.
Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts, so you never
was,
miss
but
a
like
thing.
Atlanta's
is
good
one of
for
North
wrestling.
America's
Atlanta's
most
a good
popular
wrestling
sports
place.
apps.
And when you had Migos coming out, of course they were going to get hyped for Migos.
yeah, the only pay-per-view WWE pay-per-view I ever went to was in Atlanta, and it was Royal Rumble, and that was
Atlanta's a
amazing.
great wrestling crowd. Keegan says the guy who almost did a show from the Brady Championship parade. All right, fair enough, Keegan. Fair enough. You're going to make call-outs like that. I respect it, though.
Starting at just $40 individual.
She said looking after you is a full
all the information at FurmanPaladins.com.
It takes multiple people too.
Yeah.
Basketball returning to downtown Greenville.
This feature sponsored by Indeed. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Wesley had IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Coming after my house, my car. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
Wesley called Optima Tax Relief.
Oh, they were great people. Optima Tax. They know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation.
So if you are a WWE superstar and you're perusing the internet right now as you're just waiting around and you see this feed and you're thinking, I ain't got nothing to do,
Call in.
or 25 go. We're not supposed to let you in, but we will.
I'll make an exception.
Yeah, we will. We will. We'll take the heat if you just want to show up
You
at
know
the
what I
door.
almost got to do yesterday, and I just didn't have time.
Feeling
Yesterday, they were setting up
I downloaded
for Raw last night, and they're finishing it up
Take
today.
back your privacy
And I may go
online
up there when
with
we get off of work today.
Privacy
But
simplified.
one of my press passes for the
Brown
Rabbits gets me
Lockdown
into the
on
well,
Twitter.
so I might go in there and watch them set up
Rob
the end
Brown
and get
Show
some
on
practice
the
runs today.
Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Yeah, no worries. Just a four-string quarterback turned wide receiver turned back to quarterback. To carry on Joyner. So how about 9 of 9 for $160 and a touchdown for a wide receiver? 9 of 9.
Not bad. Not
No.
bad. Not bad. You know, I mentioned on the air, you weren't here like last Monday. I'm just pointing this out because I was talking on the air with Carter, and I said, here's what South Carolina needs to do. They need to do everything. Pull out every trick play, everything. Just come out there and play. And that's exactly what they did. I'm not taking credit for it. But what an amazing thing. I'm looking like, who is that? No, that's Joyner. Yes.
To carry on Joyner, 9 of 9, $160 and a touch. But while we all got lost up in talking about to carry on Joyner, which is the correct way to do it, while we all talked about the incredible ride of one Zeb Nolan finishing up the year with a bowl win, and all these things are good things to be talked about. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, Lonzo, for Kevin Harris. 31 carries for the workhorse. 31 carries, $182 and a touch, average 5.9 on the ground. Averaging 5.9 with 31 carries is not easy. Not easy, ladies and gentlemen. That's incredible, including a 38-yarder to kind of break the backs of North Carolina. De'Carrion Joyner also had 10 carries for 64. Juju McDowell, 5 for 52. Jaheim Bell, 3 for 21. But Bell also had 5 snags for $159 through the air and a pair of touchdowns to go with it. Frankly, Lonzo, at the end of a first quarter, where the South Carolina Gamecocks led that game 18-0, they would put up another 7 in the second quarter, take a 25-13 lead into halftime. Third quarter looked like it might get competitive. North Carolina put 8 up on the board, but South Carolina answered with their own TD and then put a couple of field goals late. South Carolina controlled this game from whistle to whistle, from start to finish. We went into the bowl game asking the question, is it time for South Carolina to move on from Marcus Satterfield as the offensive coordinator, right? That was the big discussion last week. Should Shane Beamer either take control of play calling or get himself a new OC? Lonzo, Marcus Satterfield just dialed up a phenomenal game. He just dialed up a spectacular game from behind the play sheet.
The question is, what can he do with Spencer Rattler when he comes in? And does Spencer Rattler have competition? I mean, can you do this every game? I don't know. I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch for the bowl game. Could you do something similar during the regular season against other SEC teams?
A guy like Dak Joyner, who I was so happy for. I don't know if you saw it after the game. They went and interviewed him about what it meant for him to get that opportunity, and the dude was like emotionally cracked up, right? To be able to go in there and do what he did, 9 of 9, touchdown pass. And by the way, a touchdown pass that set the tone, right? That early touchdown pass was not only on the dime, but the perfect read down deep. After that point, you felt like South Carolina came out there with something special, but it was something special because it was not something North Carolina had any ability to practice for, right? They didn't have that coming. You would have assumed Zeb Nolan was just going to be a regular starting quarterback. So to run Dak Joyner out there and have those trick plays available and ready creates a situation where North Carolina was unable to practice and prepare for that. If that was the regular offense, there'd be a lot more film on it. Teams would have a better approach to it, but it worked for the bowl game. We talked about how big of a bowl win it would be for Shane Beamer in year number 1 to win a border war in Charlotte, right up the road, build a little electricity coming into year 2 to add Spencer Rattler to the mix. That being said, Rattler will run an offense similar to what Dak Joyner run that Zeb Nolan and Jason Brown and Colton Gauthier and others could not. I'm impressed. And if that is the offense that Marcus Satterfield can dial up when he's got a quarterback who can move around a little bit, I'm a little more excited about next year for the Gamecocks.
Well, the other thing to be excited about, and knew this would happen after the adrenaline ran down and North Carolina calmed down, the game became a game for a little while. And then the question was, would this team finish like a Will Muschamp team, or would they finish like what Shane Beamer wants them to finish like? And they did. They finished the game and won the game. Whereas in a team would have come back and won the game, they did not. And the fact that they were able to win this game and all the excitement in the stands, on the sidelines, on the field, we'll see how it translates to spring and then on to fall next year.
It's, again, I think if you can take the mentality of the guys who dressed and played in this bowl game, and you can run that kind of offense with a quarterback who's a little bit more mobile than Zeb Nolan, as Spencer Rattler definitely is next year. If Marcus Satterfield, maybe Sat was just trying to run his style of offense without the players to do it. I mean, he got Dak Joyner back there who can move around and shift the pocket a little bit. He had it. That offense can be good in the SEC. That offense can win games next year. That's an 8-9 win offense next year, which I think is the next step in growth.
But why didn't they do this before this game?
They didn't have the Dak Joyner back there to do it.
So he wasn't healthy for Clemson?
No, but you weren't going to run a wide receiver out as a quarterback in the regular season. You just, again, this is one of those things that the result could be 9 of 9 for $160 and a touchdown. The result could also be 2 of 9 with 2 interceptions when you move a guy who has not played quarterback all year into that spot, especially considering South Carolina had won 2 of the 3 going into that game. The other 2 were upsets against Florida and Auburn. You don't make big changes and take a gamble rolling the dice on throwing a high school quarterback converted to college wide receiver who hasn't played quarterback in a couple of years up against your in-state rival in Clemson. You go out there and do what won you 2 of the last 3, 4 of the last 5, including a couple of big upsets at home. You do what you did against Florida. You do what you did against Auburn that won you those 2 football games, and you see where it takes you. This is part of the fun of the bowl game. The bowl games ain't regular games. You can toy around. You can tinker. You can throw some gadgets out there. South Carolina did. It happened to work out. But the takeaway from this is that when you have a quarterback that can move around a little bit, when you have a quarterback that can make the pocket move left and right with him, that can escape pressure, is a little more agile, mobile than Zeb Nolan was, with all due respect to the graduate assistant turned QB, Satterfield's offense appears to open up just a little bit. That's exactly what you need to do next year. Still be able to run the ball, but be able to shift the pocket when you get those big Georgia D linemen bearing down on you. Get away from them a little bit. Spencer Rattler can do that in ways that Zeb Nolan can't. Marcus Satterfield went from a guy that last Wednesday I said, is it time to move on from Sat, to this Monday going, kind of excited about next year, guys. Kind of excited to see where this offense goes next year.
Do you know if Shane Beamer's out of the concussion protocol yet?
From the Duke's Mayo Gatorade cooler to the dome?
I mean, he took it pretty well, but when you get right away, I'm sure it made the Mayo bath a little bit easier when your bell just got rung.
Can I ask the question? Why didn't they let the players do that? Like, why did they have random Duke's henchman 1 and random Duke's henchman number 2 do the Gatorade bath instead of let the players do it? Sorry, the mayonnaise bath instead of letting the Also, did you see that they had to water the mayonnaise down to get it to flow better? I would be okay with a mayonnaise bath after a win like that, but watered down mayo might be the grossest sentence I've ever said.
Yeah, if you have some mayo on a sandwich where the tomatoes are nice and juicy, it's got a little bit of water going, then you get a little bit of the watered mayonnaise.
Oh, man. Let's see. Texas says, I was at the game. The crowd was rocking. Everyone got plenty of morning drinks in, as did myself, and I stayed for an entire football game for the first time in 10 games. Another texter says, Muschamp made a terrible decision not starting Joyner at QB. He was never a wide receiver. He's far too athletic and explosive to not put out there. Just another example of how awful Muschamp's tenure was there. Texas says Muschamp couldn't have won that game that Mac Brown couldn't win that UNC game that Mac Brown tried to gift him. And ESPN, they even yelled at the players that tried to do it really lame on their part. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't let the players do that. I guess Duke's just wanted more logos on TV. And listen, all respect to Duke's Mayo. I'm a big fan, waiting for that sponsorship to come through. Lonzo and I will wear Duke's Mayo polos on the stream every day.
No, I will not.
Yeah, you will.
I will not.
They sponsor the show, you will.
Well, I will protest. I'll put like an X over it or something. Not doing it.
Well, never mind. Thanks for the consideration, Dukes.
Well, you can keep all the money. I just want, you know what? You can just take me off of camera because I will not be a part of this worship.
It's not worship. It's respect. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Acknowledge.
Okay.
Dukes.
All right. When we start getting those, I get it now. When we start getting those cultic texts that will be coming in here pretty soon.
All right, let's see. Facebook chat. Let's see what we got over here on the Facebook chat. Join the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Let's see. Chris says, please tell me we're getting to the Herb stream comments. Can't wait to get my thoughts on that clown. Yeah, Herbie went full OK Boomer on us this weekend. Kirby broke. I like Herb Street, all right? I like Herbie, but he went full Boomer. And I'll tell you why. But next segment, let's talk Clemson's bowl game. We will break down their win. Took a little while for the Clemson Tiger Men's to get that offense rolling, but late in the game, they figured it out, and a big win to wrap up the year. Dabo had some very glowing things to say about this team. I'll tell you what they were when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Alonzo, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com. This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi with a developing story from the NBA. The Nets are preparing for guard Kyrie Irving to make his season debut against the Pacers on Wednesday night. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, Irving can't play in home games because he hasn't yet complied with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate in New York City. Monday Night Football features the Steelers hosting the Browns, 8 Eastern ESPN TV, with Peyton and Eli Manning on the Manning cast on ESPN2. Pittsburgh quarterback Ben Roethlisberger's hinted tonight could be the final home regular season game of his career. ESPN's FPI gives the Steelers a 4% chance of making the playoffs. To finish off the NFL's first 17-game season, the Chargers and Raiders game was flexed from daytime to primetime on Sunday night. Both teams 9-7, and the matchup's winner advances to the playoffs. For more on these stories, tune into the 6 Eastern Sports Center on ESPN2.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
Mom, have you booked me for my braces yet? I'm starting middle school this year.
With everything happening this summer, I don't think we have the time or even the money.
Don't worry, Mom. MyAffordableBraces.com not only has braces starting at $39.95, but it's super easy. They don't even have to use that goop that Parker has to use for his. Come on, Mom. I'll look more mature. Aren't you always saying it's time to grow up?
Good point. What's that website again?
MyAffordableBraces.com, and it's cheaper than our beach trip.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations, so you get the product you're looking for. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to Allstate, where you can really control your savings. Because when you drive less, you save more with pay per mile. So you're really in control of your savings, only paying for the miles you drive. Yeah, life is good when you're in the driver's seat. Allstate. Here, better protection costs a whole lot less. You're in good hands with Allstate. Click, call, or visit allstate.com to save today.
Not available in every state. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois.
Gentlemen, now you can find the best brands and fits for you without even trying. Just follow these easy instructions. Step 1, shop a personalized store that does all the work for you by customizing a selection for your taste and body. Step 2, level up your closet with the best brands and fits with little to no effort. Not trying has never looked so good. Introducing Stitch Fix Freestyle, your personalized store. We're so you.
I didn't feel so well, so I searched my symptoms on Google, and now I'm being followed by uncomfortable ads. I hate feeling like my personal data is being bought and sold. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your
trying to figure out exactly what time I'm going to show up tonight.
We're trophy hosts.
I'm going at
Sorry,
7:15.
Trophy winning
Probably around.
hosting the best sports talk show in South Carolina.
So.
The Star Award-winning Rob Brown Show, only on ESPN Upstate.
Our first two Dukes Mayo texts are in. First one says, ESPN, how dare you guys take the name of the best condiments in vain? Forgive them, Dukes, for they know not what they do. First off, not you guys, Lonzo, okay? Rob Brown will be thrilled to be sponsored by Dukes Mayo on the show. The Rob Brown Show presented by Dukes Mayo has a good ring to it, and I'm in. I'm in. Let's make it happen. Second texter, Lonzo says, Lonzo should be tarred and feathered for his terrible takes on Dukes Mayo. It's not a cult. It's a movement.
I got a movement for you right over here. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. Yes, it absolutely is a movement. Again, Dukes, if you're listening, the Rob Brown Show presented by Dukes Mayo is right here on the table, just like Dukes Mayo. All right, we're in for it. Send the contract over. I'm ready. Send the contract in a polo shirt. It's ready.
I'm embarrassed by the solicitation. I absolutely am.
It is shameless. Shameless. Next texture says, bleep Dukes Mayo. Wow. The hot Mayo takes are once again rolling as Shane Beamer took the Mayo bath. All right, let's flip to the other big team in South Carolina as Clemson knocks off Iowa State in the Cheez-Its Bowl, the very prestigious Cheez-Its Bowl going down. 2013 is your final. Looks like we were going to have, I don't know if you would call it a defensive battle or a snoozer with a 6-3 game at halftime. But in the third quarter, Clemson got the offense moving just a little bit, put up a pair of TDs that were the difference, 20-13, as Iowa State would find a late touchdown as well. DJ Uiagalelei, 21 of 32, $187, no touchdowns, one interception. Brock Purdy, 23 of 39 for 204, a touch and a pick. But it was the running game. I know, shocking, the exact thing I told you it was going to be that won this game for Clemson. Will Shipley, 18 carries, 61 yards, and a touch. Kobe Pace, 12 carries, 51 yards, including a 21-yard snap off. DJ also ran it 6 times for 12 yards as well. Dakari Collins, 6 grabs, 56 yards. Shipley had 53 on 5 catches. Kobe Pace, 38 on 4. And Bo Collins, 20 yards on 3 grabs for the Tigers. It wasn't flashy, Lonzo. It wasn't a flashy win. It wasn't one that it looked like Clemson was dominating over Iowa State, but they showed little flashes here and there. That Clemson Tiger team that we've expected out of Dabo's boys the past few years may still be in there. They've got a handful of really good recruits coming in to lose to replace the James Skalskins and Nolan Turners that have been lost after their final season. Listen, I read an article today from a Clemson Tiger website that said that's the sign of the dawning of the next era of Clemson. And I'm like, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I was blown away by what the Tigers did against Iowa State, but they put the nose down. They went to work. They did exactly what they needed to do, which was run the football well enough to set up the play action for DJ to succeed with some easier throws. They did exactly what they needed to do to go down to Orlando and get a win. And sometimes that's the mark of a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, when they play a team that's fairly evenly matched, they struggle, but they found a way to win. They did that all year. I mean, they only lost a couple games. It isn't like it's the end of the world. I don't know if it's the beginning of the next phase or not, but I think big-time teams sometimes need a little bit of a wake-up call like this year was for them. And I think they're awake. We'll see. Is DJ the quarterback next year? I think that's the biggest question.
That is absolutely the biggest question.
But the other question is that really the problem? Is it just him? I mean, there were a lot of things. The running game, there were other things the defense was not the problem. But will the defense be the problem going forward with new coordinators? I mean, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we've got a full offseason to figure some of this stuff out and see how they play next year.
Dabo said, quote, man, I love this team. They're very similar to our 2014 team that we had. Actually, ironically, right here in this bowl game, that was one of my favorite teams as well. I've never judged a team based on a championship. Never, ever, because you know what? There's a lot of other things that go into winning a championship. Just because you don't win the championship doesn't mean that this team was any less committed than our 2018 team that won it all. This team was just as committed, just as passionate, an unbelievable group, end quote.
You know who does judge based on that? That would be the fans. I don't know how much the fans matter or not, but the fans are the one who judge as far as championships go.
Yeah, Clemson fans, does this change your view of this team? Are you proud of this team? Are you happy with this team? Do you consider this a moment that the gear has been shifted to bring Clemson to a new level next year, or I guess bring them back to the old level next year?
Some of them were still posting, I still love my Tigers, as if anyone doubted it.
Sure.
Which means if you post, I said this before, I'll say it again, if you post I still love my Tigers, that means there's doubt in your mind that you don't love your Tigers, and you have to affirm it to everybody else. So you think about that before you put that on social media. I'm just trying to not have to see those anymore. Maybe it'll work.
Listen, we've had the discussion. We've had the discussion about, bowl games are meaningless, etc. I'll give them this. This game didn't look meaningless to Clemson. I mean, they came out and they fought like it was a regular game. So did South Carolina. I was very proud of all the teams in the Palmetto State in their bowl games. They came out and they punched like it mattered. They punched like this game mattered. There's no doubt about it. And Clemson, I don't think Clemson had any opt-outs for the bowl game. They didn't have anybody decide to sit out. These two teams played their tails off. These two coaching staffs coached their tails off. There was a good fan base in attendance. I had a friend of mine down in Orlando who is not a fan of either team. He just lives there and was like, screw it, I'll go to a bowl game. And he said it felt like a major college football regular season game, which I'll take. The Tigers came out there and it looked like this game mattered to them, which at the end of the day shows me talent, we can call it a question mark. Coaching, we can call it a question mark. All of that's good, fine, and well. What you can't say was a question mark for Clemson in this bowl game was effort. What you can't say was a question mark for Clemson was heart. They attacked this game like it mattered to them. And these are the type of games I've talked about. I don't care if players opt out. I don't care if players decide not to play the bowl game because they are ultimately meaningless except for one thing. And I've told you this before. These types of bowl games, when your team comes out and punches and claws and scratches like this, if there's a 4-star that's looking back and forth and one team comes out and doesn't play in a bowl game and the other comes out and fights for their bowl win, maybe you went over a couple of recruits. It's probably not towards the top of the list of things I'd consider important, but you might win some guys over. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 and look at Carolina because the Panthers got beat by the Saints yesterday, and yet it looks like Matt Rule's going to get his 3rd year, and the fans aren't thrilled about it. We'll break that game down next. I'm I worked 2 days last week. All right, get off me. I got to get back on the horse.
Hey, man, you wish you were me.
I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. And this, somehow, is the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year, the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Oh, you guys on the stream.
My one goal for today was to not Antonio Brown at work. We are very close to losing that goal.
Do what?
Someone, just a tweet.
No, what did it say in here?
My one goal for today was not to Antonio Brown at work. We are very close to losing that goal.
The next job I quit, I'm just taking my shirt off and throwing it and walking out.
That's the thing. You do that here, people are like, yeah, whatever. Radio's so weird. It's just, yeah.
It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Greatest invention ever. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning.
I made them waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands. Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Winter's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast. Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get 75.
Keegan's coming at you, man.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy.
Keegan's a Saints fan. Keegan's coming with us tonight, by the way. He'll be there.
I hate feeling manipulated. I downloaded DuckDuckGo and saw a difference right away. Take back your privacy online with DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Wrapping up hour number one here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Carolina loses to New Orleans last night, 18-10. Had a chance late. The Saints missed an extra point to leave it as a one-score game with a little over 3 minutes left to play. Carolina had the ball, and in true Carolina fashion, a Sam Darnold INT, his only INT of the game, came on the final drive. Look, Carolina had every chance to win this football game. Every chance. For the most part, early in the game, they were running the ball well, and then for some reason, they just decided in the second half to try to open it up. Sam Darnold, 17 of 26, $132, no touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked 7 times for 42 yards when it was all said and done. 90 official yards passing for the team after you take the sack yardage out of the equation. Taysom Hill, 17 of 28, 222, and a touchdown. Alvin Kamara had 68 yards through the air, only 32 on the ground, though. And this is what we expected, right? Carolina's going to take the ability to run the football away from you, even teams like the Saints and Alvin Kamara, who have made their money on the ground. He took that, Carolina took that ability away from them and made Taysom Hill win the game through the air, which he almost couldn't do. Every opportunity to win this game for the Carolina Panthers, but they have just been bad in the second half. The broadcast last night pointed out that going into last night's game, Carolina was minus 69 points in the point differential in the third quarter of the season. They have lost the third quarter now after New Orleans was only able to get a field goal last night. With the exception of Kamara's touchdown, it was all field goals for the Saints. With the 3 points tacked on in the third quarter, Carolina is now minus 72 in point differential in the third quarter, and it's not much better in the fourth. They come out with a good game plan and then just fall apart in the fourth quarter, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We've broken down a lot of them here on the show, But Carolina had every opportunity to win this football game last night, Lonzo, and just faded when it mattered the most.
Yeah, near the end of the game, you can see the look on Sam Darnold's face like, why did they reactivate me just for this? I'm taking a beating out here. I'm hopefully he can make it through another game without being injured again. We'll see what they do let's see if Rule and the guys actually bring in an offensive line next year.
Cam Newton, 1 carry for 5 yards, 0 pass attempts on the night. 0 for 0 through the air, 1 run for 5 yards on the ground. So for the question of does Cam come back for next year, I'd say based on this, probably not.
No.
Probably not.
When he got benched, that was it for him.
Yeah, pretty much done is Cam Newton. Chuba Hubbard.
I hope he retires and retires as a Panther.
I don't think he wants to. I think he still thinks he can play. And again, as I pointed out, I don't care if you stuck Aaron Rodgers behind this offensive line. That's how bad it is. The game was not won and lost by Sam Darnold. All right. That's what I wake up. This is the perfect illustration of quarterback gets too much of the credit and too much of the blame. Right. I don't think Aaron Rodgers could be successful behind this offensive line. I don't think Kyler Murray. I don't think Lamar Jackson. I don't think Patrick Mahomes could be successful behind this offensive line. There's just 7 sacks for 42 yards. You're not giving up 7 sacks because your quarterback can't make a decision. You're giving up 7 sacks because he doesn't have time to. But what's interesting about this is that there's a report that came out that David Tepper is, quote, embarrassed, end quote, by the contract that Matt Rule received coming out of Baylor. Embarrassed by it. You are 2 years deep into a 7-year, $62 million contract. The buyout is bigger than a lot of coaches will sign first-year contracts next year. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. Corey Diaz from the Greenville News covered the Gamecocks. He's going to join us coming up at 1:20. We'll talk to him about that bowl game and more in the second hour of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update powered by The Score. The losing continues for the Carolina Panthers. They drop to 5-11 as they lose in New Orleans to the Saints by an 18-10 score. Sam Darnold makes the start at quarterback for the Panthers, plays the entire game, going 17-26 with 132 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. The Panthers have now lost 6 straight games, and they are going to wrap up the season with a matchup against the Buccaneers this upcoming Sunday. Other football on Sunday, the Atlanta Falcons, they lose to the Bills by a 29-15 score. They drop to 7-9, and they will match up against New Orleans this upcoming Sunday. Falcons losing out on opportunity to possibly have an above 500 year. Download the Score app today, lightning fast sports alerts, so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show? The seductive stylings of one Mark Shelley.
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe a better location than to do a radio interview than sitting on the waterfront out front of the hotel over in Jacksonville.
Wait. Shelley, did you just ask me to name a better place than Jacksonville, Florida? Here, I'll go ahead. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut.
Are you uncertain as to which one of these is yours, or you just...
This one's mine. I couldn't find it the other day, so I went and got a new one.
But you don't like the fat ones. Is that what it is?
Right. Well, it goes on, but it doesn't like go into place. So every time I touch it, it like moves around.
check this out. For an official Rob Brown lockdown. Unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Let's go. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. Hour numero dos. This is ESPN Upstate. What, Lonzo? What?
Nothing. Join us on the stream, ESPN Upstate, on Facebook, and have some fun.
Now I see what's wrong, Lonzo. Yeah, I would tell you that like 70% of the content that comes out of the Facebook stream doesn't make it to the air for a good reason.
For a really good reason,
For
yes.
a good reason. Join us in the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Let me just put it this way. Chris White just put in there, and I quote, the stream, quote, feels incredibly voyeuristic to watch during commercial breaks. So, join us or don't, I guess. I don't know.
We like to dance. What can I say?
Let's call it that. All right. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP. ESPN. I'm going to pull, if you don't mind, Lonzo, clip one here. There's only one clip in there today, and it's because I couldn't find anything else that touched this. College game day. Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, and the gang are talking about bowl games, and they're talking about opt-outs, and they're talking about this, and they're talking about that, and they're talking about the other. And here is a conversation that Herbie and Desmond had, and they were being serious.
What's the difference as a player in saying these games are meaningless when, Des, we played in quote-unquote meaningless games? I mean, I know you guys were here a lot, but I just don't understand. If you don't make it to the playoff, how is it meaningless to play football and compete? Isn't that what we do as football players? We compete. So I don't know if changing and expanding it is going to change anything. I really don't. I think this era of player just doesn't love football.
That's what I was about to say. We're dealing with a total different mentality when we're dealing with these student athletes nowadays, especially the football players. I mean, their whole mentality right now is about the championship, the playoff. We got to get into the CFB or the CFP. And because of that, they don't value the bowl games. Now, when we were coming up, Herbstreit and myself, like to go to a bowl game was a huge reward for a fantastic season. That's what it meant. It's like, okay, your team played this well, so you're going to be rewarded by going to this bowl game. You're going to get a ring. You're going to get swag. Now, kids don't really care about that. They have a sense of entitlement, and it's like if we're not going to the one that matters, then it just doesn't have as much value to them as it did us growing up.
Hey, Herbie. Hey, Des. You guys need me to bring some new tennis balls to stick on the front of your walkers? There's kids these days, they just don't love football like we did back in my day. These kids don't love football.
There's one error in what Des said. Only one, in my opinion. It's when he called them student athletes. They're no longer student athletes. The game doesn't matter anymore thanks to NIL. Before NIL, the game meant something. Getting swag meant something.
What did it mean? What did it mean? Cool T-shirt, guy. You played in the 2021 Cheez-It Bowl. Cool T-shirt.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty lame to play in the Cheez-It Bowl. I completely agree. But when it comes down to it, I don't completely disagree with him, but I've changed my stance since NIL. This is a business, and because it's a business now, you're getting paid already a lot of money. You need to protect yourself for the next level.
Pretty cool that we're cool with setting caps on what people should be able to earn. That's fun.
I mean, you can do all that, and I get your side. I do. I get it, but stop calling them student athletes. They're not. They're employees, and the employees are protecting themselves for future endeavors, and that's fine. And there was a time when the love of the game was enough. It's just no longer that anymore in this materialistic world that we live in. And that's just, some call it progression, some call it regression. It just depends on your point of view. And in my point of view, I get where they're coming from, but they're living in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's about name, image, and likeness. It's about getting paid. They are no longer student athletes. They're just employees.
All right.
And do you?
Right. And you know what those people do in order to get more fulfillment out of it?
They take their shirt off and they pump up the opposing crowd, and then they Uber home.
They try to make more money, and they protect themselves to be able to make more money. That was the most okay boomer statement I've ever heard Herbie make. And he's had some doozies. And again, just to solidify this, I like Kirk Herbstreit. I like Desmond Howard. Of the guys that are on that broadcast, those are the two that I genuinely like the most. But this was the most okay old man yells at clouds statements I've ever heard. Players just don't love football. Is that it? They don't love football so much that they go through an entire, at least, season of getting their asses kicked in order to play it? Yeah, they don't love football. It turns out you can love to do something and also want to make money because you're good at it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad thing. If our boss came to me today, Lonzo, and said, "Hey, Rob, you love radio," and I would say, "Yes, Mark, I do," and he would say, "Great, we'd like to pay you $0 a year," and if I said I'm not going to do that anymore, how many people would go, "Well, Rob just doesn't love radio"? No, you know why? Because that would be redonkulous. Okay, that'd be dumb.
Are you getting paid a scholarship to be here?
No, I'm getting paid a salary.
Okay, well, you're missing the point. They're not making $0. They were already getting a scholarship. They're already getting stipends.
They are making $0.
No, they're not.
They are being given.
Let them come.
Dollars. They are making $0.
Well, they make $0. Now they
make NIL money. But from the game itself, they make $0. A guy with an NIL deal makes $0. Now, you can put a financial value on a scholarship and run the board, but they're making $0.
I get them on this side of the board, and I'm not very bright, but how are they making $0 with NIL?
I just said guys without NIL deals are making $0. Scholarship is not dollars. Okay.
It is.
It is not. It is the school going, we ordinarily charge this much, but we're not going to charge you that. That's not making money. That's just being traded a good or service, which is not the same thing.
No, it's barter, so it's still the same thing. You're there as a barter to the school because we're covering this product. You're bartering for that, so it's still getting paid to do it.
All right. Semantics aside, which we disagree, but semantics aside, saying that these guys don't love football is frankly insulting. It's frankly insulting. We interviewed James Skalski a couple weeks ago, didn't we? A couple of weeks ago, back in
it's all relative. Last year, yeah. Almost exactly a year ago.
You think James Skalski doesn't like football? You think DJ Uiagalelei, who's had a tough year, doesn't love football?
You think Skalski should have played in that game?
He did play in that game until he got hurt.
Do you think he should have, though?
Yeah, because he's not got first-round NFL draft potential. He's not a draft pick.
All right.
If he is, he's a 6th, 7th rounder at best, right? Now,
he might be on special teams somewhere.
How about Matt Corral? How about the starting quarterback at Ole Miss? One of probably maybe four quarterbacks that are considered potential first-rounders. Matt Corral went out there, and by the way, let me, before I jump into this, say I absolutely and entirely respect Matt Corral's decision to play in the Sugar Bowl against Baylor. Respect it. Good on you, dog. You felt compelled. You felt it important to play in that game. I respect that. I also respect the guys who decided they didn't want to play to protect their draft pick, Kenny Pickett. Now, Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral are both guys considered first-round draft grades in the NFL. Probably not in a lot of other drafts. They'd be pushed back some by better quarterbacks, but this is a QB-thin draft. Kenny Pickett and Matt Corral came from different spots. Pickett says, I'm not going to play in the bowl game. Pitt lost their bowl game. Matt Corral said, I am going to play in the Sugar Bowl against Baylor. Matt Corral suffered an ankle injury. We don't know how bad it is yet. Lane Kiffin said today that the x-rays came back negative for major damage, but Matt Corral had to leave the game. He was seen coming out of the tunnel later with crutches. He was unable to put any weight on the ankle. If Matt Corral's ankle injury requires surgery and Matt Corral cannot run on his ankle the same way in the future, that injury may have cost him millions of dollars. Not a million, millions of dollars. You think Matt Corral doesn't like football? Do you think Kenny Pickett doesn't like football? You think Herbie, do you think Kenny Pickett doesn't love football? Was it a sense of entitlement that Kenny Pickett said, I'm not going to do what Matt Corral did? And you know what Kenny Pickett's doing today? He's working out fully healthy, putting together NFL draft tape to get himself in the league and make tens of millions of dollars if he's good. But yeah, Kenny Pickett doesn't love football. BS. Kenny Pickett gave Clemson everything he had this year to win that game. Kenny Pickett went out and set his team on a track to win the ACC title this year. You think he don't love football? I saw somebody with the awful take on Twitter of, well, if it's only about making it to the NFL, why do they even play college football? Why not just take to it? If you had the God-given talent to come out of high school NFL ready, and there might be 5 guys a decade that are NFL ready out of the high school. Might be 5 guys a decade, maybe. If you had that much talent, I wouldn't blame you for it. If you decided to skip college football and spend 2 years getting ready for the league and you were capable of doing it, I wouldn't blame you. But the reason you play college football, if you are an NFL caliber player, is to set yourself on a path to make the league, because you got to have game film to prove to the league that you're ready.
Yeah, it's visibility. That's what that's all
Yes.
about. There are rules out there for a reason to not let a high school player. The NFL is not like the NBA. The NFL, I disagree with you. I think there may only be 1 or 2.
Maybe, yeah, I'm stretching. I'm being generous.
I mean, because if you've been around any NFL players and see just how they're built, high school players are not built that way. Even with all the new ways of working out and stuff, you're still just not ready for the NFL coming out of high school.
Texas says ESPN, no one is looking back even 6 months from now and talking about or giving a bleep about who played in the Cheez-It Bowl. The ones who choose not to play are right to not risk millions on a pointless game. Yeah, and that's what Herbie was offended by, right? What Herbie is offended by is, how dare you have the audacity to have a viewpoint on a game that's different than mine? See, I am college football, and if I say a game matters and you think it's not, you're an idiot. That's what Herbie's talking about.
And some people believe in the team when they're there. They're about the team. They're about the experience. And some guys are there just to get to the next level to make the money. And the guys who were there, like Herb Street, who never went pro, you could see. And his career choice was a good one. Obviously, he's been on TV forever now. But to him, it's more about team. And I think it's an individual choice. I may not like people sitting out. I get it. I still don't like it. And I will lean more towards what they're saying, because that's how I feel. It's more about team. But I think it may also be your own personal choice and how far you think you could have gotten. And if you put yourself in that situation, what would you have done? And most people probably would be more worried about the money.
Correct. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is literally the American dream, ladies and gentlemen. Literally the American dream, right? I would bet that if I took a straw poll at you guys and I asked you all, you care about the guys you work with, the team you work with, and I respect that. You care about the guys you work with, your team. If tomorrow you got a phone call from another team that said, we are going to look at you, consider you for a job. Consider, not give it to you, consider you for a job that pays $1 million a year. Consider you for it. But if you go into work tomorrow, you're not going to be considered for that job anymore. How many of you guys are going to work tomorrow? How many of you?
See, I'm going to work, but I'm not like everybody else. I've been here. I'm finishing up my 22nd year.
You're at the end of your, not the end of your career, but you're
Thank you.
You're at the end of a long period of time here.
Well, do I have to go down the hall later to see? I mean, you know.
Oh crap! I got something to talk
Yeah.
to tell you.
Okay. Right.
You got the email that says, "See me in my office." Close the door. No, most of you guys are probably rolling the dice on that. Does Matt Corral love football more than Kenny Pickett? No.
But you don't know that because it's an individualized thing. And
You're right. Let me rephrase that.
You cannot know the level of love inside of a person's heart.
And because of that, that equally applies to Herb Street, right? Herbie doesn't get to go, this generation of football players, they just don't love football. No, you don't know that, Herbie. You're just saying that because they don't do it like you want them to. As I said on Twitter last night, because of this situation, I don't like it is not an argument. That's not an argument. Don't hit me with, I don't like it because I don't care.
I do want to point some things out to you. You're starting to hit some levels of old man parts, and maybe you just haven't reached this level yet.
This is straight up angry millennial.
Okay,
is what this is.
All right, but at some point you're gonna hit that old man thing. Maybe they were right.
No, this is old. This is angry millennial is what this is. Let me get Chris in here. We got Corey Diaz of the Greenville News coming up in the next segment, but let me get Chris in here before we take a break. Chris, thanks for holding the line. Welcome in, big dog.
A pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time and allowing me in. Real quick, I'm going to try to go through as best I can. There's a lot to go through here. One thing, Lonzo, you mentioned that it's a business now. It's always been a business. The only difference is who gets to now participate in the business. That's the only thing that's different. It's always been a business. Never forget that.
Oh, was always there.
And there is also a reason why coaches are not compensated with books and classes and degrees. Because it's not compensation. It never will be, and it isn't to this day. There's a reason why administrators aren't paid in classes. They're not paid in tuition. They're not paid in meal plans. They're paid in cold, hard cash. And that's why those types of things are never going to be a payment, no matter how much you may want it to be. Now, on to Herb Street's point, here's what makes me and my blood boil. I am one of, I think, maybe a half dozen people on God's green earth who hates the invention of the college football playoff. The BCS was the greatest system ever devised in determining a national champion that retained the importance of the regular season. The more opportunities you give to teams to play in a playoff format, by its very nature, the less meaningful you make the regular season and other games. To wit, see what we have with a rematch within 2 games between 2 teams that have played each other. But the whole notion of, I don't understand why guys are talking about playoff or bust. I don't know if you're familiar with the show, I Think You Should Leave by Tim Robinson, but there's this skit where he crashes a hot dog car through the window of a clothing store. And he's dressed in a hot dog suit and saying, we're all trying to find the guy who did this when it comes to who drove this hot dog car into here. It was very clearly you. Guess who it is that is responsible for creating this environment of playoff or bust? It's ESPN. It's you, Herb Street. It's you being on a weekly broadcast that they have to release rankings for this college football playoff to tell you who the first 2 teams out are, to tell you where Cincinnati is and why they don't belong to be in there. They are the reason why it's playoff or bust. They're the reason why these kids all come into the season with one goal in mind, so to speak. And when that's out of the picture, yeah, they do what's selfish and they do what's right for them because the team goal is now gone. It's because of you, ESPN. It's because of you, Herb Street and Desmond. You created this environment. And guess what? You get to now live in it where your precious ratings continue to drop. You maybe make less money because that's the only reason you care about these people playing in these games so that people watch it, is to line your pockets, and you have the nerve to criticize these guys for trying to line theirs. I don't buy it for a second. You're full of crap. You're a hypocrite. You have been for a while now. Go yell at a cloud where somebody's going to actually care about it.
Chris, if you were here, I'd kiss you on the forehead. I mean, smack dab center of the forehead.
It's kind of weird.
No.
Kissing someone.
That is just sheer love and appreciation for a perfect. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, that call is going to be clipped and podcasted to the website later.
Here's the problem with his call. He used the phrase to wit, which raised the IQ points of the show a little bit. I don't like that. I feel uncomfortable with it, and I think we need to go to break.
Lonzo's put off by haughty intellectuals like us, Chris. It is what it is. Great call. Great call. He's spot on. He's spot on. Spot on.
One thing I agree with them. Yeah, all the coaches and those guys don't get paid in books because they already graduated.
But wait, education.
And they got
And I'm going to work on the assumption that you weren't talking about me there, because if you were, that's the most offensive thing I've ever heard. Class by class as I went.
Well,
I know it sucks.
If you
Not allowed to do anything else for money. No, screw that, man.
except for when that booster says, "Hey, John, nice to meet you."
So we're cool with flaunting the rules then. How about just make the rules to where everybody can do that, and it is what it is. Since it was already happening anyway, we've universally accepted that in college football. Why do I have the sneaky suspicion we're not done with this topic quite yet? I'll bring you that Herbie audio later on in the show. Corey Diaz of the Greenville News joins us next. Special edition of Fight Club with Lonzo coming up at 2:20 because Monday Night Raw's in town tonight, y'all.
We already fighting, yo.
Extended edition of Fight Club with Lonzo at 2:20. We're back after this with Corey Diaz. This is ESPN Upstate.
It is, by the way. I know who keeps turning it. You got it? I know who it is.
Who is it? Owen.
Yes, it is.
I knew it.
Other football on Sunday, the Atlanta Falcons, they lose to Bills by a 29-15 score. They drop to 7-9, and they will match up with New Orleans this upcoming.
By the way, I think that's an argument that will never be won, one side or the other, because it's an opinion, and it's just it's fun for a while, and then after it, you start getting angry because you want your side to be proven to be the right side, and there's not going to be one. Always good when you call on Chris. I don't believe he's on until Thursday, Keegan. And Steven, we're not fighting. We're having heated debate. Which actually can be done without anger. It's possible. You still have emotion without anger.
In only 3 of the last 6. Meanwhile, for the Browns defense, the rush defense has gotten back in shape these past 3 weeks. That's BetQL's 5-star best bet for Monday Night Football.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
But do.
So yesterday I saw one of my friends was playing Fallout 76 for the
Yep.
first time. So I decided to download it on my new Xbox. Took an hour. By the time it was downloaded, he was no longer on the game. I was 1 minute away.
Oh,
you know how
no.
you could see people were on 1 minute away, and he's like, no. Because I was just going to jump into his game, which he used to do to me all the time on stuff. So, in that game, though, it doesn't make the enemies get harder.
Regenerative treatments for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgeries, no pain meds, no steroids, and no downtime. This is really exciting stuff. Regenerative restorative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics. Patients are raving about it for hip pain relief, knee pain relief, shoulder and back pain relief. Don't let them keep giving you steroids, and don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics. Do it now and imagine life in 2022 without pain. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772.
It's out with the old and in with the new. Windows, that is. Hey, it's Tom with American Made Windows. If you don't want to get to another year with those leaky, nasty old clunkers, listen to this. For a limited time, we're offering $50 off per window when you buy and we install 5 or more, or get 12 months same as cash with the poor credit. Visit amwupstate.com or call 334-6030, 334-6030. And remember, the best windows are American made.
This is important news. If you have unfiled tax returns, the IRS is shifting gears and ramping up investigations on non-filers this year. If you fail to file your tax returns for a year or more, or you owe back taxes, now's the time to call Optima Tax Relief before the IRS finds you. Optima is America's #1 most trusted tax relief.
Hey, Corey, it's Lonzo, ESPN Upstate. Happy New Year. How are you today? We're sweltering in the studio because someone likes to turn the air off, and when the sun reaches the side of the building, and it takes. Although it feels like it's actually kicking in pretty quick, so we might be okay. We're on the edge of moist. That's not good when you're on the edge of moist. Well, there's a fine line between a sauna and a sweat box, where you start to get hallucinations, which we might. Well, hang on. I am hallucinating. In my hallucination, I won that argument.
Rumor is we might get a Brock Lashley showdown tonight.
Oh, I hope so. That would be nice, and sucks all at the same time. So Big E's just cast it aside.
He's gone.
I mean, first Brock ends Kofi, now Brock ends Big E. At least if Xavier Woods ever ascends and becomes champion, he knows who's going to beat him for the belt. Although I don't believe I've ever seen Brock wrestle in person, so
I have.
And the seats are really good. So
I saw him take the Undertaker streak away. WrestleMania 30. I was there.
Really?
Yep. Quietest I've ever heard that arena. It was silent when he lost.
You weren't tempted to be the guy who went, woo, that's my man.
Nobody wanted to be that guy. To the phone lines we go to welcome in a young man who has become not just a contributor to the show, ladies and gentlemen, but saw his work popping up on the main page of Yahoo Sports earlier today as well. He writes for the Greenville News, covering Gamecocks athletics over in Columbia, South Carolina. He is Corey Diaz, joining us here on the show. C, what's up, fella?
Happy New Year.
Good to have you back. I know we missed a couple of weeks because I am lazy and decided to use all my vacation days at the end of the year. But we're back in stride, Corey Diaz, as were the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Look, we'll get X's and O's in just a minute, but what a damn showing from Shane Beamer's boys in that bowl game.
The fast straw poll right before the game kicked off there in Charlotte Thursday morning, and even at halftime when Carolina was up at halftime, the straw poll was, did anyone see this coming? And it was a resounding, almost unanimous hell no. I mean, look, obviously, last time we saw this team, didn't score a point against Clemson, obviously, but we know that there's still a talent gap there between those two programs. And, and the feeling around was, look, you're 6-6, you got to the bowl game, let's just make sure that we end this season on a note in which everyone can, outside of this locker room, this football facility building, believe that, everything that we have heard and been told from Shane Beamer throughout the 12, 13 weeks of this football season, and even before that this thing was headed in the right direction, that it was going to be a positive end to the 2021 season. Now whether that was a win or you fought hard against a pretty talented North Carolina football team on both sides of the ball, and maybe you have a heartbreaking loss or a really close loss, but you're competitive, you're in the game throughout. That would have been something that I think that Shane and this team and this program would have accepted. But to go out there, just basically controlled the game from the kickoff all the way through to zeros at the end of the fourth quarter. I think that's even a more bolder statement as to where this football program could be headed, as long as they capitalize on this momentum heading into the offseason.
We watched that game, obviously, and talk about a hot start. South Carolina comes up to Kerryon Joyner playing at quarterback, and we've had a couple of people, Corey, that have thrown at us, why was Joyner not playing quarterback all year, right? Like, why did he not get an opportunity when you had the carousel of Noland, of Brown, of course, Luke Doty, though he had the injury that took him out? Why didn't Kerryon Joyner? My old shot was, the dude hadn't played quarterback in a couple of years. It would have been a bit out of left field, but the more I think about it, the more I'm going, maybe did they just not see it? Was it just too important to have him lined up at wide receiver? Why didn't we see him earlier under center?
Yeah, Rob, look, I think that was probably the biggest question that that had been tossed my direction too since the end of the Dukes Mayo Bowl. And I think what we have to realize here in this situation is you had asked the guy, first off, it's the first year of a new staff, so the new staff comes in, and you're asking the guy to play wide receiver. There's still this element of trust building going on. By DK saying, hey, look, I want to stay here. Obviously you're not the staff that recruited me, but I believe in kind of what you guys are selling, but I need to see it, obviously, as this thing transpires and as we roll along. They're asking him to play wide receiver, and even DK said it after the game, and he said it before too, before this bowl game, that, he fully bought into playing wide receiver for this football team. And I don't think there's a problem with that. Obviously the kid's very talented. He's a multifaceted, skilled football player. He obviously brings multiple dimensions to an offensive scheme. Of course, he can run, he can throw, he can catch. I think it's a situation of Shane and Marcus Satterfield believed that the best way that he could contribute to this offense was with his pass catching ability. And but when you have guys like Jaheim Bell and Josh Vann had a really good, almost breakout year in a way, and it removes the light from a guy of the talent caliber as DK Joyner, and you kind of lose sight of the ability that he does have catching the ball. And so now with them being down to just two scholarship quarterbacks, you kind of have to it's bowl season, so teams get creative all the time. I don't think Mac Brown and North Carolina prepared very much for DK to play at quarterback, and we have to realize that too, Rob, is that North Carolina's defense probably spent very little time on Joyner playing quarterback. They were probably spending 95% of their time preparing for Zeb to play quarterback, which is a much different quarterback, of course. And so that could have contributed to the type of game that Dakereon Joyner had. But I'm not going to sell the kid short. I thought he played a phenomenal game. He was obviously a huge spark for this team in that bowl game, and the way it played and the just the efficiency and how effective it was.
We are talking to Corey Diaz. He covers the South Carolina Gamecocks athletics department for the Greenville News. Joins us every Monday here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Now, let's extrapolate what we saw ahead to next year. Last Wednesday, my last day of the year, Corey, we had a big conversation about, is it time for the Gamecocks to move on from Marcus Satterfield? This weekend, he goes in, draws up a beautiful game against the Gamecocks of South Carolina. And so my take on the show earlier today, and I want you to tell me if you think I'm on or off the mark here, was that with Spencer Rattler, who is more Dakereon Joyner than he is Zeb Nolan, with a guy who can move the pocket, who they can start shift blocking left and right and have the pocket move with him, a guy who can move around a little bit more, maybe it was just the tools available to Marcus Satterfield that made his offense look questionable at times, games like Mizzou, et cetera. With Spencer Rattler in the fold next year, will we see a different Marcus Satterfield play calling scheme?
No. Okay. So my take was, and I did write a column from the bowl game that kind of talks about this. So greenvilleonline.com, shameless plug there. But what I extrapolated from what we saw offensively from Marcus Satterfield and his play calling during the Deuce Mayo Bowl is that I think what we saw was actually probably is going to be the closest thing that we've seen through these first 13 weeks of him being the offense coordinator at the University of South Carolina. What we saw in the bowl game is going to be the closest thing to what we're going to be able to see moving forward. And you touched on a little bit there, Rob. I think obviously from a skill set standpoint, when you think about Spencer Rattler, you think about, he's got some legs that he doesn't really run a whole lot because, I mean, when he was at Oklahoma, he didn't really have to. When he was in high school, he didn't really have to. I mean, he's got just a rocket for an arm. It's back foot 45-yard throws in the middle of the air on a line. I mean, not many guys in college football can throw the ball like that. And so, but I do think that what we saw is going to be kind of where Marcus moves this offense forward with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, because he does have that ability to make defenses remain honest, respect the run, respect him as a playmaker as opposed to a Zeb Nolan, who's a straight back, drop back passer and can only do one thing, and that's just throw the ball. So that's going to be the dimension there that I think, Marcus Satterfield and the other offensive coaches, they're really going to try to, exploit as much as possible moving forward, because I think, as we saw, that's South Carolina's best chance to win football games. When they have that added dimension of the quarterback being a playmaker, not just a guy that can throw the ball 40, 50 yards downfield, but also a guy that can, use the RPO as effectively as Dakereon Joyner did. That's an element of this offense of the bowl game too that we hadn't talked about was, in the handful of RPOs that were called, I'm pretty sure DK completed every single one of those passes, and in the couple of times that he kept, I mean, he ran for 7+ yards. I mean, those are home run plays when you talk about sustaining drives, ending drives with touchdowns. Those are the kind of plays that allow you to do that. And so I think that's where we're going to see this offense really sort of change and morph itself moving forward.
Corey Diaz covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate, talking a little South Carolina football. Got another minute or two with you here, Corey. And, look, we saw an energy out of that Gamecock team a couple of times this year. We saw it against the Florida Gators. We saw it against the Auburn Tigers. It felt like it was there before they kind of fell apart against Clemson. And from all the folks that I talked to, and you can confirm this at the bowl game, it seemed like there was an energy in the stadium and in the team before they tipped off against a 9.5-point favorite North Carolina program, who they then controlled from opening to closing whistle. Is that going to carry over to next year? especially considering Shane's really going to get his first true set of his guys in there. I mean, they've got some guys that were brought in last year that are Shane Beamer guys. He's obviously got so far, a really good class. Looks like it's going to be a top 20 class when it's all said and done. Do you expect that energy we saw out of the team against Florida, against Auburn, against Clemson, and against North Carolina to kind of become the norm there in Columbia?
Yeah, Rob, I do. And I don't think that's a knee-jerk reaction to, a 17-point bowl game victory. I think that, and to be quite honest with you, Rob, from my vantage point, I mean, I thought in more games than not this year, I thought Shane had this team from an energy and enthusiasm standpoint. I thought he had them up to the task week in and week out. It's just, a couple of games that stick out to me that I thought that they were just kind of, before even opening kickoff were probably not mentally 100% there. And I felt like that was at Texas A&M. And I felt like at Missouri too was just a weird feeling and a weird mood around that team that weekend altogether. So, but I would say outside of those two games, I thought for the most part, this South Carolina team had the necessary energy. And look, there's no substitute. Coaches say it all the time. Shane even said it after the bowl game on Thursday. Winning your last game of the year, it does wonders for just your overall off-season program, right? From conditioning through the 15 practices that you get in the spring, player-only stuff. It does so much for a football program to be able to win your last game of the year and just continue to try to project that momentum and that positivity into the following year. And then in South Carolina's case specifically, you go from finishing the year 7-6, which next to no one pegged you to have a winning record in Shane Beamer's first year. And on top of that, you add the best quarterback that entered the transfer portal. He's coming and joining your team. You're adding one of the best tight ends that entered the transfer portal. He's coming to join your team. They signed some really good high school kids that I think will be maybe not necessarily immediate impact players, but guys at key positions that will provide really quality depth. And then you got guys like, Eric Douglas at the center position deciding to come back. You got R.J. Roderick, who I believe at this point, from any of the guys that have announced they're returning for another season, that if he didn't come back, the secondary was just going to be completely just depleted. So getting R.J. Roderick back is going to be huge. So when you have guys like that are deciding, hey, I want to come back and I want to try to get this program to even greater heights. I think it says a lot about, kind of what the team currently feels about what's going on in Columbia. And I think the fans, I think they'll continue to just to see that energy, see that enthusiasm, not only from themselves in the stands, which let's be honest, look, I'll shout out South Carolina fans right now. Charlotte was garnet and black. It was a really fun city to be in for a couple of days. Found myself in a South Carolina fan pre-game party the night before the bowl game. I was like, I don't know if I should be here or not, but you know what? This is fun. I'm enjoying myself. So I credit to those guys. They bought into getting to the bowl games, cheering this team on, and I think the team really feeded off of that. And I think that's going to be crucial too, moving forward for Shane and the Gamecocks.
Corey Diaz covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. You can find him on Twitter at Corey Diaz, DIAZ_TGN. Corey, my guy, always good to have you on, big dog. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys. Y'all take care.
There you go. That's Corey Diaz for the Greenville News. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Punch up your power with Peloton Boxing. Work out to your favorite music with 100+ artist series classes. For a limited time, experience it all with a $550 value off the Peloton Bike Plus, including $300 off the Bike Plus and free setup and delivery. A $250 value. Terms apply.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
Be really tempted tonight to get a Hey Randy shirt.
I like them.
Yeah, they look.
Randy. Randy.
I kind of do. Although, do they sell oversized Riddle hats? Because I could use one of those.
You're a snapback guy. They're just flat bill snapback.
Yeah, I just they gotta be trucker hat size though, because get tired of just having the one button.
Right.
Because it doesn't look right because it'll move up. I need to have 2 or 3.
Randy.
I wonder if there are going to be any dark matches after.
The last 2 rows I've gone to, there have been.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was this pre or post COVID?
Post. Oh, no. Pre. Sorry. I thought you meant like.
So I wonder if they curve back because of that. And roster has been
decimated.
Yes. Yeah. So they don't have as many guys there. One of the ones we went to, they teased us with a Brothers of Destruction match and just never happened.
Yeah.
They came out and they beat somebody up and then it's like, I want to see a match.
Cheap out.
I forget who they beat up, but still. I was also there when Kurt Angle pulled down Hulk Hogan's trunks. Unfortunately, I was on the moon side.
Nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 silver unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Unlimited equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
We still have one more break to take, huh?
Yes, we do. But we're coming back now.
Thanks to Corey Diaz from the Greenville News for joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. Glad to have him every Monday. And look, the 2 takeaways from that. First off, Lonzo, all the talk about South Carolina fans calling for Shane Beamer's head, and not in Charlotte they weren't. Not in Charlotte they weren't. Corey just confirmed what I got confirmed by another reporter who was there on what was it, last whatever day it was. They're all just a blur at this point. But that Charlotte was Gamecock country last week. Second off, we talked about what it's going to mean to have Spencer Rattler in there, and you heard Corey say it's not going to change the way that he calls plays. It's just going to change the effectiveness because now he's got the right guys in there to succeed with those plays.
And Spencer Rattler right away was tweeting about he can't wait that he's watching the game and can't wait to be out there and be a part of it. So, yeah. I mean, that's a good thing.
Oh, he was live tweeting the game.
Yeah.
He was live. He was throwing props out to Dak Joyner and everybody. He seems like he's all in. I respect it. All right, let's take a break. I know it's a short one, but we went a little long with that interview. So short break here, and then we'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. Lot to get to. We are not even close to getting through the tip of the iceberg of stuff to talk about on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. It was 75 degrees yesterday. It is like 47 today.
It's going to be down to, I think, 28 tonight.
God,
yeah.
I'm going to have to wear a damn coat.
I was going to say, so dress warm when you come out.
Coat to the wrestling.
Might have to watch for ice.
Maybe dress like Rich Holland when we leave.
There we go.
Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for the final Monday game of the regular season as the Browns play in the Steelers. All still have a shot at the playoffs, and if retirement rumors prove true, it could be Ben Roethlisberger's final game in Pittsburgh. Join us for all the action on Monday Night Football.
Tonight at 7:30, the NFL plays here on ESPN Upstate.
You could save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, but when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So we're going to tap into human emotion, first with some music. Then in serious tone, I'll say, save big when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive. And even when you say,
Oh, for one.
Yeah, but see, Rob goes across there like, see, let me show Alonzo how it's done. There you go. Your angry eye contact means
breaking news when we come back.
Give your child a smile that will last a lifetime, starting at $39.95 from MyAffordableBraces.com. Give braces starting at only $39.95 at MyAffordableBraces.com. Save even more with most insurance plans, including MetLife and Delta Dental. MyAffordableBraces.com has a clinic near you in Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson. Schedule your free consultation, exam, and insurance today. Easy payment plans and affordable braces. A lifetime of smiles you can afford at MyAffordableBraces.com.
This feature is sponsored by Indeed. If you want to find quality new hires in the new year, post on Indeed. When you sponsor a post, you'll get matched instantly with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you.
I don't know if he's joking or not, but Nick Cage going forward would refer to not be called an actor. He wants to be known as a thespian.
No. That's the kind of crap that gives actors a bad name.
I'm pretty sure he's joking because he's Nick Cage, but you know.
Oh, that's a good point. Who else but Nick Cage could play Nick Cage and make it better than a Nick Cage movie?
An actor couldn't do it. Only a thespian could.
Mm-hmm. I was in one play in high school. One play. And referred to myself as a thespian the rest of my high school career. And in that, I didn't even have any lines. I played a drunk butler.
Something you probably saw a few times at home.
Yes, we had butlers.
Yeah, of course you did.
In my house, yes. Multiple butlers.
That's what 1%ers. I mean, you know.
Played a drunk butler. 0 lines, stole the show. Loudest applause when it was over, just by acting drunk. And the whole premise was there was one scene. It was The Importance of Being Earnest, where the main characters were having a breakfast and they were eating muffins, and I just kept stealing them as I'd walk out and just walk across and steal one. And by the end, they had a scene where they were supposed to both take a bite simultaneously, and I had taken all the muffins, so they were all gone. My best friend was one of the actors, and I did not tell him I was going to do that.
Is this the reason why you were only in one play? Because you stole all the muffins?
My mom just said, you had butlers? That must have been your other family. Yes, Raw's in town, but it is not Stone Cold Steve Austin that gets the glass break. Instead, we have breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Go to BetQL.com or listen to all the BetQL podcasts on our website at Odyssey.com on the Odyssey Podcasting Network. You can also hear, and he, I believe, rejoins us tomorrow, Joe Giglio of BetQL, host of BetQL Daily. We'll give you some lines, picks, predictions for the NFL final regular season week. Some chances to make a little coin this weekend. We'll talk with Joe Giglio of BetQL tomorrow as breaking news is brought to you by BetQL. Oklahoma coach Brent Venables has hired Clemson assistant Todd Bates to come on over to the Boomer Sooners. The exit of Bates creates the Tigers' third vacancy this cycle on Dabo Swinney's staff, with both coordinator openings since being filled by in-house promotions. Bates is was Clemson's defensive tackles coach. He will become a co-coordinator on Venables' staff with the Sooners. Swinney touted Todd Bates as a future head coach earlier this month, and now he takes one step up towards that. Said that Bates would ease the transition for the Tigers after losing Venables to Oklahoma and Tony Elliott to Virginia. Sweeney promoted Bates to associate head coach after the season is over, but Bates has instead decided to take a co-coordinator role with Brent Venables back in December. So not too long ago, Sweeney said, quote, Todd Bates is a future head coach, and he's going to be a great head coach. He's special. He's got the gift. He's got whatever that is that you have to have, I think, to be a head coach. Todd Bates exemplifies every possible thing you could possibly want. He has a great understanding of the game. He's young. He just gets it at all levels. Him moving into a leadership role is going to really help me and to lean on him with a lot of head coach things. Again, collaboration and discussion. I'm excited about Todd to be able to step into that role. What an unbelievable job he has done, and somebody that I have a lot of trust in, his opinion, everything. He's also our recruiting coordinator. He'll be a head coach sooner or later one of these days, no doubt about it to me. Well, if he gets to be a head coach, the 38-year-old who has been under Dabo at Clemson since 2017 when he signed on as a defensive assistant will take that step out of the University of Oklahoma to move into the next role. Sweeney said during Clemson's early signing presser that he could not be happier for Venables and Elliott. I wonder if he feels the same today after Brent Venables has now taken a guy that Dabo said was going to be hugely influential on transitioning Clemson out of the Venables-Elliott era and into the new area of Brandon Streeter holding down the offensive coordinator job. What's going on the defensive coordinator job? Going to be interesting. That is a big, big name, according to Dabo himself, jumping out of Clemson and following Brent Venables out to Oklahoma. When we come back, I got a lot more I want to get into. We got more NFL talk. I want to go back to that Herb Street discussion, too, because I thought of a few more things since we had it. And the Dallas Cowboys, they lose a heartbreaker to Arizona yesterday, and multiple Cowboys have come out now and said that they firmly believe the officiating was bad enough that it influenced that game. Are they right? We'll talk about that more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, powered by The Score. The losing continues for the Carolina Panthers. They drop to 5-11 as they lose in New Orleans to the Saints by an 18-10 score. Sam Darnold makes the start at quarterback for the Panthers, plays the entire game, going 17 of 26 with 132 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. The Panthers have now lost 6 straight games, and they are going to wrap up the season with a matchup against the Buccaneers this upcoming Sunday. Other football on Sunday, the Atlanta Falcons, they lose to the Bills by a 29-15 score. They drop to 7-9, and they will match up against New Orleans this upcoming Sunday. Falcons are losing out on opportunity to possibly have an above 500 year. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
He is the world's strongest athlete. Mr. Mark Henry joins us here on the show. Talk to me a little bit about what you think AEW is doing right to grow the fan base and how it's different from other companies you have worked for in the past.
I think that AEW is a fast-moving company and is growing to be the #1 company in the world because the talent are very hyper-competitive. And if they want to be #1, they realize what they have to do. Everybody else can say that it's not a competition, but when you're trying to be #1, then there's competition. If they're not trying to be #1, then they're missing the boat. I feel like that when you have that mindset, every week you're trying to prove that. And we've been #1 on cable for several weeks.
QC Kinetics in the first break. Keegan, I'm sure you killed it. Absolutely.
Keegan, I can only hope to be a thespian like you one day, sir.
I was just in church plays, so I don't know if that still counts. I mean, you're still acting, but, you know. The audience, you got to believe in a church play is a little more accommodating to bad acting. So
All right. I don't ordinarily do this. Said every guy on a first date ever. I don't ordinarily do this, but I'm going to go back to some sound that we played earlier in the show. And it is because, and I don't consider myself to be easily offended. I am not a snowflake, as some of you have called me in the past. I'm not. I'm a guy who doesn't like when people say dumb things.
You know, as a snowflake, you would absolutely say you're not a snowflake. And that, in essence, might actually make you a snowflake.
Rule 1 of talking to Lonzo, don't say you are or are not a thing. Because he will turn it around immediately on you. Herbie and Dez, who I like, both of them, sincerely. I like Kirk Herbstreit. I like Desmond Howard. I like both of them, and I think they both do a spectacular job. But sometimes people that you like say things that you don't. As Lonzo gives himself the old self high five. Sometimes people you like say things that you don't. And those two guys took that to the extreme on College Football Game Day as they were setting up for the semifinals when they were both having a conversation about the young guys out there playing football today. And they both decided to say this.
What's the difference as a player in saying these games are meaningless when, Des, we played in quote-unquote meaningless games? I mean, I know you guys were here a lot, but I just don't understand. If you don't make it to the playoff, how is it meaningless to play football and compete? Isn't that what we do as football players? We compete. So I don't know if changing and expanding it is going to change anything. I really don't. I think this era of player just doesn't love football.
That's what I was about to say. We're dealing with a total different mentality when we're dealing with these student athletes nowadays, especially the football players. I mean, their whole mentality right now is about the championship, the playoff. We got to get into the CFB or the CFP. And because of that, they don't value the bowl games. Now, when we were coming up, Herbstreit and myself, like to go to a bowl game was a huge reward for a fantastic season. That's what it meant. It's like, okay, your team played this well, so you're going to be rewarded by going to this bowl game. You're going to get a ring. You're going to get swag. Now, kids don't really care about that. They have a sense of entitlement, and it's like if we're not going to the one that matters, then it just doesn't have as much value to them as it did us growing up.
Okay, Boomer. Listen here. The take of this generation just doesn't love football like we did, right, Dez? No, Kirk. And again, I like Kirk. I think Kirk's good at his job. I think he brings a voice to football that's valuable. I think he brings a voice to football that helps college football. But he just got this one wrong, man. Like, first off, as Lonzo so eloquently pointed out, you can't know what's in a person's heart. You can get to know the person. You may learn about the real them. You may eventually get to a point where you are comfortable stating that you believe that you know what's in their heart, but you don't. You can't. This whole take of this new generation doesn't love football. / Dez throwing in at the end, there's a sense of entitlement. Well, I got news for you guys. And we had Chris call in earlier in the show and absolutely brought the hammer down by saying, here's the deal. Do you know why college football players have the mentality of national championship or bust? Because we as broadcasters have created that. We feel that way, and you can tell me that you don't, and that's fine. But quick, grab your pen and grab your pad. Last year, who won the Cheez-It Bowl? Do you have your answer written down yet? Don't Google it. That's cheating. Who won the Cheez-It Bowl last year? Who won the Duke's Mayo Bowl last year? Do you remember? Who won the 2020 Duke's Mayo Bowl? Can you tell me? You can't. Who won the national championship last year? You know that, don't you? What 4 teams played in the college football playoff last year? You know that, don't you? Of course you do. Of course you do. But you don't know who won the Cheez-It Bowl, and you don't know who won the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Unless it's your team. Unless it's your team. You don't know who won the Duke's Mayo Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl last year, and you frankly don't care, do you? You don't. We have the mentality of only the college football playoff matters. On Tuesdays, starting in week 7, on Tuesday, ESPN forsaked every other sports broadcast. Forsaked? Is that right?
I think it's forsook, but
forsook?
Yeah, I don't know.
Forsook definition. Is that right? Oh, it is. It's the past tense of forsake. Look at Lonzo, the haughty intellectual that he is.
I apologize. It won't happen again.
ESPN forsook.
It doesn't sound right, does it?
It doesn't. I don't like it.
It doesn't, but it's.
I don't like it, but it is
it's
right.
correct. Yes.
Texture says forsaken. No, it's not in the way that I set up the sentence. In this season on Tuesdays, ESPN, correct word is, forsook other sports broadcasting. That other sports broadcasting hath been forsaken. There's a difference. Anyway, on Tuesdays throughout the season, ESPN forsook, don't like it, other sports broadcasting. Do you remember what it was that they took 30 minutes every single Tuesday and forsook other broadcasts to do? What did they do? Did they do poll projections? Did they come in and say, we are currently projecting that in the Cheez-It Bowl will be Clemson and I? No, they didn't do that. What did Kirk himself step in and say? Your top 6 teams are, these 2 teams are on the bubble. Number 4 is, number 3 is, number 2 is, number 1 is, end of show. Chris was bang on. Bang on. Herbie is mad that there are players going, why am I going to risk my career and my health to play in a game that ultimately no one will remember? No one will remember. 20 years from now, Matt Corral isn't going to be banging on about the Sugar Bowl, but he will be banging on about where he got picked in the NFL draft. He will be talking about how much money he made in the NFL draft. Here's a fun one. Let's do it this year. Let's do it this year. Pittsburgh had a good season, right? The Panthers had a good season. Lonzo, since these bowl games mean so much, what bowl game did Pitt play in this year? This year. Not even 2 weeks, a week ago. What bowl game did Pitt play in?
See, this is hard for me because I don't care. There's that. Because they're an ACC team, and what do I care about an ACC team? I'm going to go and say...
I'll make it easy for you. They played Michigan State. That's a Big Ten team. What bowl game did they play?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go with the Citrus Bowl.
They played an hour and 45 minutes away from us in the Atlanta Peach Bowl. That's a history bowl, right? That's a historical bowl. That's one of those bowls that Herbie and Dez... Was
it in the playoffs this year?
No.
Okay, I don't. Okay.
Right? Do you get my point? Guys are ranting and railing right now that the bowl game should mean something. Kenny Pickett sat out of the Peach Bowl, and I bet 85% of y'all couldn't have told me what bowl game Pitt even played in this year. It was a week ago, and y'all couldn't tell me what bowl game he played in. If I'd have asked you who Pitt played, you wouldn't have been able to tell me. Who won that game? Who won that game?
Michigan State.
That is correct, but you guessed.
Did I?
You picked the Big Ten team.
Did I? Did I guess? You don't know.
Maybe. I can't definitively say that you did know, though, and that's the point. The point is,
I actually watched some of that game. I just couldn't remember exactly what bowl game it
because
was.
that's how much it mattered, right? Kenny Pickett sat out, and all I saw on Twitter was people going, Matt Corral should get more draft precedence because he had the stones to stick it out and play. And if I was an NFL team, I wouldn't draft Kenny Pickett because he doesn't have the finish it gene in him. That's cool, man. 80% of y'all, if I asked you what bowl game Kenny Pickett would have played in, couldn't tell me. 80% of y'all, if I asked you who Pitt played in said bowl game, couldn't tell me. 50% of y'all, if I asked you who won that bowl game, couldn't tell me. But Kenny Pickett, he doesn't love football, does he? He doesn't love it. See, the problem with guys like Kirk and Dez is that they've decided our love for college football is the correct love for college football. And people do this all the time. It's not just football. It's not just sports. People do this with religion. They do it with politics. They do it with money. They do it with jobs. They do it with fandom. They do it with everything. They decide the way that I do this thing, that's the correct way to do this thing. And anyone who speaks out against it doesn't truly love this thing.
No one on the station would ever act that way.
No. Of course. You know what human being does that? You know what human being takes the stance of? If you don't love a thing the way that I love the thing and do the things that I do to display the love of the thing, then you don't love the thing. You know what human being does that? All of them. We all do it. It's an inherent bias. It's a survival mechanism. When we find a thing that works and keeps us healthy, safe, engaged, alive, we go, this is good. This thing is good, and anybody who does any other thing is bad. Kirk and Dez decided, we played, and therefore we love football. And if you don't love football the way that we love football, you don't really love football, do you? And it's frankly an insult. Does Kirk Herbstreit love college football more than me? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he does. I'm sure he does. He makes millions of dollars a year to talk about it. I'm sure he probably does.
I don't know. Do dollar signs make you care about something a little bit more?
Yes.
Yeah, probably do.
Yeah,
more than likely. Yeah.
Of all the questions we've asked on the show today, that's the easy one. Yes. But because Kirk says, well, if I was Kenny Pickett, I would have played. Would you? Hey, Kirk, were you a first-round draft pick? Did you have a possible $12 to $20 million contract riding on you when you were coming out of a bowl game that was meaningless?
If he would have come out in a year like this where the crop of quarterbacks are the way they are, he probably would have been.
Still a maybe.
Yeah.
Still a maybe. Still a maybe.
He wasn't bad.
Still a maybe. Kirk, I love you, dog. I really do. I like Kirk Herbstreit. I genuinely do. But this whole, if you don't do it my way, it means you truly don't love football take is kind of gross. It really is. Could you imagine if I told Lonzo, you don't get up and tailgate Kansas City Chief games at 11 a.m. knocking back bourbons like I do. Therefore, you don't love the NFL like I do. You don't love the Chiefs like I love the Saints. You know what I would call that take? Stupid. I'd call it a dumb take. That's exactly what Kirk Herbstreit just did.
And I would say you're already hitting the bourbon.
Exactly. But that is exactly what Kirk Herbstreit's doing here. He is saying, because I love it this way and you don't, you're bad and you're wrong, Kenny Pickett. Matt Corral busted his ankle in that Sugar Bowl. What was the score of that Sugar Bowl? Anybody. Very few you can tell me because very few watched. Yes, players only care about making the championship game. I got news for you. Outside of beer rec leagues, most athletes who play in sports professionally, that's the goal. I'm sure there are a few that are like, I don't really care if we win or lose as long as I get cheddar. I'm sure there are. But most people play the game to make it to a championship. And if you're not getting paid to play the game, yes, I know they're getting scholarships and room and board and food. Great. But if you're not getting paid to play the game, once you can't win a championship anymore, By the way, and I wasn't here, so this is a genuine question. This is not me making a point, but a genuine question. Jadeveon Clowney back in 2013 played for South Carolina. 2014, he decided he wasn't going to play any more games. Sat out a handful of games because of injury, etc. Did y'all bust him up for that? Or were we all cool with it?
No, there were people pretty upset about that.
Okay.
And
that's fair.
they said it played into the narrative that he didn't play as hard as he should have. You know, there was that narrative that that he took plays off and things like that. And they were saying it was more proof that was the truth.
Fair enough. Jadeveon Clowney protected himself in order to make it into the NFL. Would you say he had a pretty good NFL career?
Still going. Not bad.
Yeah.
He found
working on a decade.
He found a good home where he's at.
Yeah. Working on a decade in the league. Was he a bad guy when he had injuries in 2013 for sitting out a few games to get his body right, to heal himself up, to make sure he's 100%? Was he a bad guy to skip his senior year, not play to go to the draft? No. He made the best decision for him. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Y'all don't care. You can tell me you care about bowl games. You know what bowl games I care about? I care about the bowl games that's on TV. If I'm sitting at home and it's Tuesday and there's a game on, screw it, I'll watch a bowl game. But I don't have my bowl game schedule posted like I do the regular schedule on my computer at the office, right? Who won the Cheez-It Bowl last year? Who won the Duke's Mayo Bowl last year? I asked y'all that question 12 minutes ago. I gave you 12 minutes. And I'll bet you about 80 y'all actually cared enough to go look it up. But yeah, the college football guys who don't care about it, they're the problem. They're the problem. Stop it, Kirk. Stop it, Dez. I like y'all. Don't say stuff make me not like you. They're entitled. All right. Just sounds to me like you're mad that they got a better setup in college football than you did when you played. That's what it sounds like. Let's take a break. When we come back, special edition of Fight Club with Lonzo. Monday Night Raw in town tonight at the Bon Score Wellness Arena. Lonzo and I will be there. So we're going to wrap up the last couple of weeks of Monday Night Raw and day one, which took place on Saturday. Get you set up for Monday Night Raw, and then you can watch it on TV and see if you can see me and the great one on television. That's next on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
You see.
question. I'm going to turn the stream back on. What is the difference? Those of you in the South that are on the stream with us, what's the difference between dinner and supper? Is it just a word?
I think it's just a word, but it may also be a Hobbit thing.
Yeah. A Hobbit thing. But have you heard of second breakfast?
Elevensies.
What's taters, Precious?
Those fish raw and wiggly. All right, you're driving around. You're going, wait a minute. It ain't Thursday. Sightsee. Cannot wait to go to.
Ask Lonzo for a hug.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. and I just realized I'm in an aisle, so I'm going to change that. Maybe I need to move from 1 to 5.
Asking for a two-handed hug, full two-handed.
I'll give you a knuckle bump. You know, I might inspect your knuckles first, and don't come at me really hard. All right, so over the weekend. Of the pay-per-views, I guess. I'm guessing. I believe WrestleMania will probably still be called WrestleMania, even though it's now 2 days again. I just I don't get that, but I guess you can get more money out of it and more views. So day one happened. Some of the matches were good. Overall, the pay-per-view was not bad though. All things considered, starting out with Cesaro. Bobby Lashley or one of the other big guys that Vince McMahon likes to see wrestle. I don't know.
I am a big fan of the giant guy who says little and kicks a lot of behind motif, right? Like I think Ridge Holland's got potential. I'm intrigued by this Brock turn because it's really the first time we've seen him handle a mic a lot, and I think he's doing okay. But I kind of like Brock that just came out, said little, threw people through the canvas, and left.
See, I don't.
I liked Roman when he was that way too.
I like the new Brock. I absolutely like the new Brock as far as his personality and stuff. He smiles more. I mean, when he broke, when R-Truth was up there with him. Beast, maybe a little bit, but you can't come out in overalls and not lessen it. I mean, once you do that, the beast thing it kind of goes down, and the haircut, which I really like, and that will be my next haircut as I continue to bald.
Do it tonight.
No, as I continue to bald. No, I'm not doing it tonight. Either that, or I'm going to go Shaolin monk top knot type thing. I haven't decided yet. All right, so the next match was the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and the New Day. It was good, but it wasn't like a classic New Day Usos match. Some of those ones where you think someone's probably going to die because they're doing some things that they shouldn't. I go back to, I think it was Hell in a Cell, where Xavier Woods was being crucified and beaten. I mean, when you do stuff like that and you go back to a regular match, I think it lessens it a little bit, but still, it was pretty good. You're not going to get a horrible match when you put the Usos and the New Day in the ring together.
No, you're right. I mean, what's made some of those so great is the viciousness between the two, but also the mutual respect between the two. And you saw that at the end. You saw the Usos kind of give the New Day a little nod of respect at the end. But no, it was a good match, but they can't all be all timers. And we're not done. We're gonna get another great New Day Uso match somewhere down the line, probably for a championship again. I thought it was good.
And by the way, I want to get a replica crown. I like the new crown that Woods has. It's very video game-ish, very I don't know, Final Fantasy-ish, and I want one of those crowns. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. The Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss it's an idea that's so bad, but they're continuing with it. When does this thing die? You may not hate it as much as I do. I really dislike it.
I don't hate it.
I do not want to see it tonight. I do not.
Yeah,
and we probably will get like an entire segment.
I'm not
of
gonna
it.
lie. That's my go get a beer segment, right? Like that's where I'm hitting the concession stand. That's where I'm hitting the bathroom, taking a little break. I don't know. I don't hate it. It just doesn't do anything for me. And Corbin came out, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, did an interview, a podcast, and he pretty much put it on the table. This is a Vince thing. This is Vince loves it. Vince thinks it's a great character. The problem is you kind of started it with this, he's got all the money thing, but the only way it manifests is he wears hats now. Like that's not it, man. That's not it. Baron Corbin, when he showed up, I genuinely thought was going to be a monster heel, right? Like Deep Six is a great move. He's got it. But it's just this character isn't it. And it would be fine to have a comedian. And I guess maybe the point is that he's not funny, but they both think he's hilarious. But it's not even like he's cringy bad, not funny. It's just.
See, here's the problem. I think they're making a play and they're cracking on dad jokes. But
he's not telling dad jokes.
But by the way, dad jokes are funny. They are. They may be cringeworthy funny, like that is so lame, that's funny, but there's still some humor in it.
Absolutely.
The stuff that they're telling is not, and maybe I like dad jokes because, but this is just not, I just don't get it. And there have been gimmicks in the past that I just don't get and hope they die and they never do fast enough. Raw Tag Team Championship between RK Bro and the Street Profits. This is something that, they had a tournament, they put the Street Profits in there, but I found a lot of times it seemed like the audience didn't know what to do because these are two fan favorites and they don't know who to cheer for. And I think that's a bad move by wrestling when you do that, when you don't know who to cheer for, when you don't know who the heel is, who the face is, and you're just like, this is good, but it's not as good if they were facing somebody that there was a lot of buildup.
Now, see, I think this is one of those things that WWE having so much control for so long has created. And it's like in sports, sometimes you don't really have a team that you're in it. You just want to watch and enjoy. I think the confusing thing about that, it was, I don't need to be grabbed by the nose and led to like this guy and don't like this guy. I think that's what happens that creates some situations where guys and gals on the roster are misused because they're trying to force somebody into a heel role that the fans like, and they're trying to force somebody into a face role that the fans don't. It's the exact mistake they made with Roman Reigns when Roman was starting off on his solo career in trying to jam him into the starting lineup as a babyface when everybody just wanted to hate him. Now that he's a heel, he's the biggest thing they have going. The problem that was confusing for that crowd last night, I think, was, yes, you have two baby faces, but why would Migos, who is arguably the most famous group in Atlanta right now, right? Like Migos are the most famous Atlanta celebrities not wearing a Braves uniform right now. Why would Migos come out with RK Bro when the Street Profits are like a Migos act, right? Like they're into that.
Here's the reason. And if you follow, and to the point where he has beef with other rappers and talks. I mean, he gets in there and he talks
with Soulja Boy that he had like a legit go.
Riddle to lose, but they did not. But the highlight of the match is when Riddle slides in the ring and throws. Hits the RKO on it.
Yeah.
That was pretty, because the camera angle was perfect. You didn't see.
No, I'm sorry. Beth looked cool.
Yeah.
She looked cool, man. I was good to see her. Look, I didn't. All right. It's like, whatever, basically Edge is just, and I love Edge. I do his walkout song. I played at the hockey games. I love Edge and everything. I love coming out to the Brood character. He's done it a couple times since he's come back, but I love the Brood entrance. How many circles of this new guy disrespects Edge, so Edge is mad thing are we going to do?
But at the same time tonight, if we hear the altar bridge kick in,
I'll lose it.
Yeah, we're both going to be excited about it.
I'll lose it.
All right. I love the Liv Morgan push, but it's not going anywhere. And Becky doing she can't believe the overacting. She's never been that great of an actor anyway, but the overacting in the ring I thought was a little much. You do it once or twice, that's fine, but she did it so many times. They kept focusing in on it, and it's like, okay, you're not going to give the title to Liv Morgan. Let's just move on.
I'm in a spot because last year when I guess previous to the baby, I thought the man was one of the best characters we've had in a while.
I thought it was the lamest.
I know you did.
But everybody I know thought it was a cool character.
It's awesome. The man was great. It was Lady Stone Cold.
It was stolen.
And it was great.
From, other people.
It was stolen and made her own. And it worked perfectly. I love the man. I love that it created a work feud with Ric Flair for a little while. When
it's still going. No, it's still going on.
Hot about it.
Yeah.
They're not even calling her that anymore, right? I hate you want to know the thing that drives me craziest about VKM? And by the way, maybe he's in town. Vince, call us 844 GSP ESPN. We'll put you on. I could probably spare you a minute or two. The thing that drives me the craziest is that it seems like every time somebody genuinely, organically gets over, Vince does everything in his power to change that, to make it stop, right? Like Daniel Bryan in the Run to 30.
Are you so sure that she didn't want to change? Because she might have wanted to change.
If she did, I'll take it all back.
Yeah, I mean, because she is matching her husband.
I disagree. I would accept that if they were doing stuff
together.
I think
the most outlandish and outdo each other. I think they're having a contest about this.
Vince has this thing where he believes that if a wrestler gets cocky, that all of a sudden they dress like a peacock. I thought Bex was at her best when she was crazy cocky as the man, but she came out in a black t-shirt, jeans, sneakers, and kicked your nose through your head. It was great. And now this new big time Bex character they've created around her, I'm not a fan, which means that my first time getting to see Becky Lynch in person, I'm going to end up booing her.
All right.
It sucks.
So we should have led with this, but I didn't. So the fatal five-way became a five-way because Roman Reigns had COVID and could not perform. So they added Brock Lesnar to the match. As soon as they added him to the match, I knew Big E's reign was over. It's unfortunate. And there are pictures out there showing, I believe from Fox, that Big E was supposed to win the match. So if Brock Lesnar hadn't been added, Big E would still be the champion. And that bothers me.
Dude, they showed him after the match, Big E. They showed him after the match leaned up against the ring. A lot of guys will do that, like they'll lose and they'll do the I'm upset ring pose afterwards. Big E genuinely looked crushed. Like he genuinely looked unhappy about the situation. And I get it that you wanted to push Brock and having him come back and then lose Roman last minute. Yeah, I get that kind of creates a power vacuum.
At least he didn't beat you in 17 seconds or whatever it is they let him beat
Kofi.
Yeah.
But how much, I don't know, man. Like, how much better is that story if you have Seth and KO and Big E all team up to take Brock out, right? Like, have the other four team up to take Brock out and then fight up against themselves and then let Brock come back on a mission of destruction to take all of those guys out on the way to Raw. I didn't get it, especially when, again, Big E is probably the most organically over champion we've had in a while as a face. And now we have, and don't get me wrong, Brock's great right now. Like, I like what Brock is right now. This is not a shot at Brock Lesnar, but you had Big E being Big E, and now you've just ran it. And let's be real. When's the next time you're going to set Big E up for another title run? I just didn't like it.
That's a great question. If we come in tonight and suddenly we hear Big E's going against Brock,
he's losing. I will not be excited because he's losing. He's not going to beat Brock one-on-one on a random throw-off episode.
How
many rematch clauses ever get won by the guy who lost the belt the night before?
All right, we need to take a break. But fantasy booking here, they do that match.
SmackDown, though. They've been running from him forever.
Hey,
Why would
man.
they try to bring him to SmackDown?
Don't mess with my fantasy. All right.
All right, one segment, then Twitter to wrap it up on a Monday. The Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
I just want Big E to still be champ. I'm upset.
No, I agree. I know.
You know, if anything, if he's going to lose it, let Brock pin somebody else.
Yeah.
Why did he have to pin Big E? It's like, great story, kid, but we all know who the real guy around here is. Here you go, Brock. Have a championship. But it also makes you wonder,
They almost kinda
okay,
turned
so
it into-
was Brock supposed to beat Roman Reigns? And was it in his contract when he came back that he'd be champion?
yeah.
So they had to give him that championship. Upstate golf in the last break.
And 4.
During Dell's New Year event sale. Get special financing through Dell Financial Services. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
And by the way, Keegan, to go back and address something that you said earlier, no, I was playing Simon Peter, not the second sheep. I had the second biggest part after Jesus in the play. So, I mean, you know, there's that. And I got to cut off someone's ear with a sword. So, I mean, you know. So not only was my role emotional, but was physical also. All you did was sing.
All you did.
And by the way, I sang in that play too. So there. What do you think about the flex schedule in this last week? I like it.
Weird, but I also get it. Like they don't want to. They want teams that are competing for playoff spots playing next to each other, so you can't.
Well, you want some games that people are going to want to watch.
What I was mad about. Well, I wasn't mad because I got to watch it here, but for the Saints Panthers games yesterday, unless you were in Charlotte or in New Orleans, they put on Dallas, Arizona.
Well, you can watch it. I was going to say here. I watched it here. I don't like that the Chiefs are playing at 4:00 Saturday, although I should be able to squeeze in the game before the show. I get all my show prep done ahead of time. But then I come to work. I'm at work 3 hours early so I can just watch the game instead of, it ain't like we don't have enough TVs. We're good.
You're in for a treat. Get 100% U.S.-based customer service and talk to a real person day or night. Discover exceptionally common sense.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless. Now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Alert equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
We're not here to take
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonzo and you. 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776. What else do we have in here? Oh, yeah, here's a fun one for you, but on the way out. Reports are coming out that David Tepper is, quote, from Pro Football Talk, embarrassed, end quote, by the 7-year contract he gave to Matt Rule. The Panthers started 3-0. They have obviously won just 2 of their last 10 to get to 5 wins. They lost again to New Orleans yesterday afternoon, 18-10 in a game that they absolutely could have, should have, would have won. Matt Rule, of course, hired back in 2020 after the turnarounds he made at Temple and Baylor. But according to Pro Football Talk, sources say Tepper is unhappy and embarrassed after the $16 billion hedge fund manager gave Matt Rule a 7-year, $62 million deal to outbid the New York Giants for his service. Of course, the Giants hired Joe Judge, so things aren't much better there. Not ideal. Not ideal for Matt Rule at this point, if that is the case. Now, also, the reports are coming out now that Matt Rule will get his 3rd year, right? Because remember, Baylor, Temple, 3-year turnaround jobs. The problem here, and I talked about this a little bit on the Carolina Kickoff Show on Sunday, which our final edition of the year will come this Sunday, 3 o'clock live at Wings Etc. Grill and Pub in Boiling Springs. The problem is that the 3-year turnarounds at Temple and Baylor that got Matt Rule this job, there was marked improvement from year 1 to 2, 2 to 3, right? And then obviously success in year 3. What's the marked improvement from last year to this year? Give me one thing that's improved from this year to last year, or from last year to this year. It's not at the quarterback spot. It's not at the offensive line. It's not at the running back position. I mean, maybe the defense improved just a touch, but that's more Phil Snow than it is Matt Rule. What would you say improved from last year to this year that makes you believe Matt Rule's on an upward trajectory?
I was going to say DBs, but again, you're right. But he hired the assistant coaches, so in essence, I mean, he gets the push from that, right?
Not assistants, defensive coordinator.
It doesn't matter. Didn't he hire the coordinator?
Yeah, he brought in Phil Snow.
So I mean, so he should get some credit for that, for the defense playing pretty well.
Okay, so. Pretty well. And they are. They're not playing bad. If you're holding teams to 15, 18 points, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just hard to win when the offense isn't scoring points.
Right.
So,
and that is Matt Rule's specialty, right? The thing he's supposed to be best at, they're just not getting it done. Yeah, if I was David Tepper, I might be a little embarrassed by that too. Not that you hired Matt Rule, but that you locked him in for 7 years. And if you buy him out now, you're looking at like a $48 million buyout. And I tell you, Lonzo, I'd be very happy to not work for 5 years for $48 million.
Yeah, I'm probably okay with that.
Yeah, I can figure out how to be happy with that. All right, let me get Jason in here before we head to Twitter to round out the show. Jason, thanks for hanging on, big dog. You're up.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. A couple comments. A few days late, but John Madden, what I remember about him, if in his line of business with the media, and obviously what he does as a football coach was fantastic, and obviously we forget about it. But a guy that is A, intelligent, B, talented, C, entertaining, and D, well-liked. In that line of business, find very, very few guys that fit all 4 of those. I got an example, Chris Collingsworth, a lot of people don't like him. I think he's very smart. I guess it's what way he comes across. I've always liked Collingsworth. But that's just an example. Madden, shocking his death, especially after the special they had on him on Fox.
Yep.
But Antonio Brown, it just boils down to this: people get on comments on CTE, mental illness, and all that. That may be all the case, but he's just a terrible person. That's just and maybe if those two combined is a time bomb, going off. Someone like Josh Gordon, he's got an addiction problem, but I won't say he's a terrible person at all. But that's just Antonio Brown. He's just a bad guy, and it keeps showing and showing. He's never going to get better, and I think we've seen the last of him in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for checking in. Good to have you. Look, Antonio Brown needs help, but there's also the flip side of that coin, which is my dude's been in the league like 13 years, right? Was he or 9 years, whatever it's been, 7 with Pittsburgh. There comes a point where you have to look at somebody and go, you need help, but it's only going to come if you let it. Antonio Brown has been doing this stuff for years, y'all. This is not new. And yes, he does need help. And I hope he gets the help. I hope he gets whatever help he needs to get over this crap. But I think I agree with you. I think he cost himself his career yesterday. What as good as he is, he's past the point where you can go, well, with our team, we can get his head right? Like with our team. Do the Rams make a play for him right now to pair him with OBJ? No. He's past that point. Again, I do hope he gets the help. But I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a certified down in the state of Florida therapist, who told me he's got the classic signs of narcissism. He's got all the classic signs of narcissism. And the problem, one of the things that makes narcissists the hardest to work with when they have other mental challenges stacked on top of being a classic narcissist is that they don't ever believe anything's wrong. Antonio Brown doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. It's the world against AB. That's how a guy like AB looks at it. I don't feel bad about the Bucs. You knew you were playing with fire when you lit that fuse. I hope AB gets the help he wants. But also, the stuff that AB has done, some of it's unforgivable, or at least not without him making moves to prove he's over it. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show to wrap it up. It's Twitter Trending Topics next. This is ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 Upstate Golf Card is on sale. If you have a golf lover in your family, you need maybe a oops, sorry, I forgot your Christmas gift, or maybe you just want to give them something fun to look forward to in 2022. $99 gets you 18 holes of golf at 10 of the best upstate golf courses like the Preserve at Verde, the Rock Golf Club and Resort, Rolling Green, and others. Get yours today by going to upstategolfcard.com. It's upstategolfcard.com. Get them while they last, the 2022 Upstate Golf Card.
Right now, 36.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football and Westwood One. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for the final Monday game of the regular season as the Browns.
I think Satan is being summoned in an office in there.
The what?
Said,
Oh.
Satan is being summoned in an office next time.
In an office that has sinks in it?
The office next 2 hours.
Oh, next to ours. Gotcha.
It was a joke about death metal.
Yeah, I
You
didn't know
get
if you
it.
were referring to someone having a real go of it in the restroom, but just didn't want to say that on the stream.
No, I would say that. It was being very underneath without using names because, you know. I agree, Stephen. Dinner is kind of quaint and it's kind of fancy. Supper is what you know, it's what you have with your family. You take your prospective girlfriend out to dinner. You don't take her out to supper. What do you say?
So, my
Or do you say,
grandma used to
"Hey, girl"?
that dinner would be eaten at like 3:34 in the afternoon, and supper was like the nighttime meal. I just thought that was dinner.
Before I came here, I thought dinner was a lot of people called dinner lunch. They're called lunch dinner. So I don't know. Again, I don't think you invite a prospective girlfriend out for supper. You invite her out for dinner.
Supper seems more like an at-home thing.
Yeah, you know, supper's it's family time. It's I don't know. When they both the derivatives of the words probably mean basically the same thing, to sup or to dine. So I mean, but in to dine, I think implies maybe dining out. So I don't know. Time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending, some of which may have trended like a day or two ago, but I think it's...
Unfortunately, now late great Betty White, 99 years of age. You know what? I want to say that Betty went out on a high note because 3 days before she passed, what was it? People Magazine, I think, did a full, huge spread on Betty White and her life. You know, she was a groundbreaking actress and comedian throughout the years, and one of, from what we can tell, the nicest people to ever exist. They did a full spread on her being 99, turning 100. I think January 17th would have been her 100th birthday. And they did a whole thing on her, making it to 100. She dies 3 days after it's published and 2 weeks before she turns 100 years old, completely erasing the point of that magazine. And my thought is Betty would have loved the fact that she got to make that joke on the way out the door. Somebody said this on Twitter, Alonzo, and I thought it was very poignant and very accurate. Live your life in a way that if you die at 99.9 years of age, the entire world says it was too soon. That's the kind of person I strive to be.
Absolutely. All right, let's go a totally different direction. The next thing is trending is Pabst.
So Pabst Blue Ribbon, I'm assuming got hacked, but Pabst Blue Ribbon earlier today, and I caught it on Twitter when it happened. Somebody tweeted, and I don't remember the exact context of the tweet. Let me see. I got the screenshot saved somewhere. Not drinking this January. Fill in the blank with sexually deviant act here, which was clearly a hack job. But of course, it blew up Twitter, and the thread that came after it will make you, that same faith that was restored in humanity by Betty White was taken away today by Pabst Blue Ribbon. And don't get me wrong, I am a PBR guy. It has won a blue ribbon after all. You know it's good. Hysterical. Absolutely hilarious. That's going to do it. We'll see you tonight at Monday Night Raw. If you're not going, watch for me and Lonzo on TV. We'll be the two good-looking guys in the audience. And, of course, we'll come back tomorrow. I got to remember how to work 5 days in a week. It's been so long. We'll try harder tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Ryan Diesel up next with Offsides. For Lonzo, my name's Rob Brown. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow on the Star Award-winning Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. Adios, stream. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. Love you. Mean it.